finding some early chemistry. It's knocked down in front. Rossi there, and he scores. Minnesota's put a handful on the Blues here in the home opener. 12:33 to go in the third. 5-0 Minnesota.
Oh boy, that got out of hand. Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. We're broadcasting live from Centene, where the Blues are at morning skate today, and they need it. Because that did not look good last night.
What, are you saying they're going to backskate him?
Maroon.
Oh, shut it, all right. Dylan Holloway had the same damn suit on.
That's the
problem.
problem.
I'm blaming him, too.
He looked great. He looked great. He was one of their best skaters.
And
Get
I
the hell
thought
out
you
of here.
looked great for the show yesterday, but obviously it didn't send the right juju out into the world.
Obviously. You know what? Screw me for wearing the alternate colors that the Minnesota Wild wear. Wear a damn blue blazer, Ferrario.
Yeah, it's about time.
Yeah, that would have fixed the fact that none of the Blues went to the front of the net last night.
Something had to.
That would have fixed the lucky bounces that Minnesota scored on. That's right. I said it. Minnesota, you got all your goals off of luck.
Bennington, bum. Holloway, bum.
Or they're the Phillies.
Bum.
They're the Phillies.
So obviously last night went poorly.
Obviously.
They lose 5-0, the Blues do, at home to open up the season with a whimper. Bennington, as my intrusive thoughts said last night, can't stop a puck.
Shut it.
The Blues defense, as Alex's intrusive thoughts did last night,
that one was fair.
Couldn't stop anybody. And as T-Bone's intrusive thoughts said, the offense couldn't get anything going. So all of our intrusive thoughts became a reality last night.
Nailed it.
How much does it matter, Alex?
We're not making the playoffs.
Zero, ladies and gentlemen. For everybody that is panicking, stop. That meant nothing. To me, you know what I read into that game last night? They probably should have played their NHL lineup a few more preseason games before they started the season. Like, that's what it felt like. I had so many people reacting on postgame last night, which appreciate all of you joining in. Not the complaining, but everybody's like, this team's not going to be good offensively. Wyshynski was right. Guys, what are we doing? They scored top 10 in the NHL last year from Christmas on. I think
expected goals, though.
Stop it, you nerd.
I mean, it didn't look good last night for expected goals either.
Well, expected goals for Minnesota also didn't look good in the first 2.5 periods. Like, to me, that looked a lot like a team that played one game out of their 6 preseason with an NHL roster. And guess what? That one game that they played an NHL roster with, they went up against some AHL guys on the other side. I think my takeaway from that game last night, one, you got outworked. It was plain and simple. Offensively, you didn't do enough to take Gustafsson's eyes away. You basically let him square up to the puck every single chance that he got. And guess what? Gustafsson's a really good goaltender.
Yeah, except that, I mean, as T-Bone mentioned, he's got a weakness, and the Blues didn't exploit
They
it.
never went over the glove last night. Never. They just kept hitting the logo. And as Jim Montgomery said, whatever that logo is.
Yeah, it's the Subway. Eat fresh. What they really need was Milan Lucic in the lineup, right? At least one guy knows how to get to the front of the net. But you got outworked there. And then your defense looked like they were scrambling. And to me, all of that resulted in you probably should have tried to find more chemistry for your lines. The one line that had chemistry together all preseason was Thomas Buchnevich and Snuggerud, and that one broke up in the first period. Holloway and Kyrou, who looked great, which goes to our point of they're the engines of that line, played all preseason with Suter. Schenn played with Neighbors, and whichever third-line winger you want to talk about. And the fourth line played with Sundqvist most of the time. So 3 out of your 4 lines had zero chemistry throughout the preseason. That's why you saw them with 0 goals last night.
Yeah, it just looked like a team that wasn't ready. Like, it looked like a team that wasn't ready to go in the start of the regular season. And I can't really explain that because I don't think they're poorly coached. I think Jim Montgomery is a really good coach, but they didn't have the urgency that you would typically expect in night number 1, and they didn't do the work that you need them to, which is what changed under Jim Montgomery last year, so I don't think it's a Jim Montgomery problem. After the game last night, Brayden Schenn was asked about the Blues issues and whether or not they can just flip that switch if it's something that can quickly be fixed. Here's what he had to say.
It's not hard. It's just a simple recipe of going to the net and a willingness to go there. No different how they scored goals tonight. They were in and around our front of our net, and they got some bounces, and that's how you score goals, is when you have people there and you get bounces that go your way.
Alex, I think part of what some Blues fans will say is, just lucky bounces. There's some truth to that, but you also create your own luck in the sport at times.
Yep.
And the Blues didn't create their own luck, and far too often, the Wild were able to. So, like, last night was, in my opinion, pretty discouraging. I look at some of these metrics, and you look at them, and you're like, okay, well, they got pretty unlucky. Normally, if you play that exact same game, Blues win more often than not. And I think there's some truth to that. There were also some alarming signs last night that if they continue and they trend that way for 10 to 15 games, it's going to be a problem. But it's one game. We're going to play 82 of these things, no matter what. Like, guarantee you will get 82 of these. So what is my level of concern? It's low. Whatever you thought going into yesterday, you should still think that same thing today. But man, that was it was a huge letdown to do that on home ice to open up the season.
If there was one concern for me, and Jim Montgomery said it yesterday going into that game, he's like, the teams that have success in the NHL get to their identity fast. They figure out who they are early on in the season, and that's what leads them to early success. And last night after the game, I asked Steve Ott, like, what was missing from your identity? And he said, we had signs of it in the first period. The problem was as soon as that third goal went in, and think about it, like, that's adversity that the Blues have to figure out how to handle. He said when that third goal went in, the bench was just gone. The energy was lost. They felt like the game was out of reach. And this is something that Doug Armstrong has talked about in the past. He's like, what bothers me as a general manager is when a game is 2-1, 2-0 within reach, and then it gets out of hand and becomes 4 or 5-0. That's what last night was. So the concern, if I had any, was, is it going to take you 3 months to find your identity again? Because you should have your identity already in place after last season. But again, it's so low because they could find that identity after one game and then go on a run with it. So I'm not concerned at all with that game. Was it a dud? Absolutely. I mean, it's the first time they've been shut out in a season opener in franchise history.
That's not what you want.
No. And
the nice thing is, Mayu could still score first.
So
could Holloway. All of us still could be right.
I don't know if they're going over the glove. I didn't get to see Calgary.
You're not allowed to change it.
Nope.
My first bet for the year is Mayu will score the Blues' first goal, and that is still alive.
Yep, that's good. That's how this one's going to go. But, like, I could see the Blues going on the next two on this road and just whooping up on their opponent. Yeah. And then we're not even going to be acting as if that 5-0 game happened.
From the 5-7-3, laughing my ass off at this being a discouraging loss. The sky is falling already for BK. They were snake bit, dude. If Holly nets that first shot on the pass from Ruzi, they're off and running.
Oh, boy. Hey, baby. Hey, pass from Ruzi and Holly, and they would have just put it in the back of the net. Top shelf where Grandma keeps the cookies.
Yeah, maybe. That didn't happen, though.
Yeah, they
I
did
can't
not
play
score.
the what-if game. They didn't score there. And they got destroyed last night. They lost 5-0. It's a horrible loss. And I also have stated, I don't know what you're hearing. I know what I'm saying.
Ooh.
I also said, I'm not all that worried. It was discouraging because it sucked to see them get crushed in the first game of the regular season. So yes, discouraging is the exact word that I meant to use there. It was discouraging. What does it mean long term? I mean very little, probably. I saw this in the piece from Matthew DeFranks earlier today. 3 of the last 5 teams to lose by at least 5 goals in an opener have then gone on to advance to the Stanley Cup final. Last year's Oilers, the year before that Oilers, and 2019, the Boston Bruins.
All right.
So
we're there.
What does it mean that you got crushed?
From DeFranks to find that.
Basically nothing. The last 2 years, the Oilers lost this way in their opener, and then they went to the Cup.
Now, to be fair, 2 years ago, Edmonton fired their coach like a month into the season.
We could do that again.
No, we're not doing that again.
Third time's a charm, right?
No, we're not doing that again.
I think that the Blues are going to be fine. I think they're going to make the playoffs this year. I think they played a really poor game.
Yeah. Sheepy Reporter made a great point, which we should all be high-fiving, guys. They didn't give up a 6-on-5 goal.
Woo, yeah!
Yeah!
I'm not going to high-five that. I'm not high-fiving that.
Fixed, boys.
We didn't see it.
Yeah, but we didn't need to.
If you guys want to get involved in the show,
still stinks.
314-399-9646. That's your
penalty kill
customer
was
service
great.
text line to get involved in the show. Ask us anything coming up at 11:45. If you guys have any questions, sports or otherwise, we'll get to those at the end of this hour. Mike McKenna, former NHL goalie, will join us coming up at 12 o'clock. We'll ask him how much of that was Jordan Bennington's fault last night, if anything. We'll get into that with him coming up at noon. But next, are we officially worried about the Eagles? Because that was an embarrassing performance last night. If anybody should be discouraged based upon what happened yesterday, it's Eagles fans. We'll talk about it next year on 101 ESPN.
Broadcasting live from the Centene Community Ice Center inside the E&B Granite Studios. This is BK and Ferrario on 101 ESPN. Presented by Bud Light and Skimmer's Original Vodka Iced Tea on 101 ESPN.
All right, so T-Bone, I will give you your full credit. You called it. T-Bone said yesterday the G-Men would at least cover and possibly win outright last night against the Philadelphia Eagles. I liked the cover call. I thought the winning outright was crazy, absolutely insanity. And then they go out there and beat them 34-17. The Eagles, from start to finish, just got beat. There was nothing fluky about that performance last night by the New York Giants. They were more physical. They were more aggressive. They did everything that you could ask for out of a team that is just the better squad in that game last night. Philly could do a whole lot of nothing. The running game, once again, which I thought maybe would get going last night, dude, Saquon 12 for 58 again. I don't know what's going on there. Even the passing game, while better, was not dominant by any stretch. And they could do nothing to slow down the G-Men. Nothing. Their defense, to me, was the bigger problem in last night's game. It should be better than this. So that was, I used the word discouraging for the Blues earlier today. That was highly discouraging for the Philadelphia Eagles last night. I want to get to the Giants here in just a moment, but Alex, when you saw what had taken place in the Eagles game, because I have to imagine you didn't see a ton of this because you were on the air for the Blues side of things, what was your reaction?
I mean, the reaction was, you got to be bleeping kidding me. Like, you're the Philadelphia Eagles and you're losing to Jackson Dart and the Giants. Now, how much plays into this for you guys that Jalen Carter wasn't in the game?
I think it tells a little bit of the story for their defense, but even then, it still probably shouldn't be this bad.
But even then, like, defensively, they've been my biggest concern more than the offense, because I still believe the offense can turn it on. Now, this was a game that it's like, man, I know the Giants got a good defense, but it shouldn't be enough to hold you to 17 points. Defense on the Eagles side has been my biggest concern. It's like, man, you just don't have the same defense you've had in the past. And it's like, if you're not elite at stopping the other side, then I don't know if you can afford to play in a shootout style football game, because you've got weapons. They don't like to throw the ball. They like to run the ball, and playing shootout football with running the ball is not an easy task for an entire season. So, I mean, I saw it, and originally I'm like, man, you got to be bleeping kidding me. But again, I find myself going straight to, I don't care, because if the Eagles get into the playoffs, I still think they're going to be a dangerous team.
Yeah, and I agreed on the blue sentiment of, hey, it's early, that though it's disappointing, like, hey, I'm willing to give you 10 games to just see what things look like. It's more my spidey senses going off than anything. I give football teams 4 games, and then I better start to see some of the adjustments that I've seen that were worrying. And for the Eagles, it's the reason I said I thought the Giants had a chance. It was nothing to do with the Giants, right? I didn't trust Jackson Dart in that offense, but I trusted their D-line would be able to slow down an Eagles offense that hadn't been impressive and give them a fighting chance. And that's exactly what they did. We're 35% of the way through the Philadelphia Eagles season, and they've made no adjustments to their offense. They can't run the football still, though the passing game was better, to your point. It was partially better because they had to throw the football a lot last night. Like, they didn't get a choice of, do we run or do we pass? No, you have to pass because you are down in this game playing catch-up. And Hurts didn't look good. He missed a Devontae Smith wide open on a route up the field. That would have been an easy walk-in touchdown. I think there's serious concerns about the Philadelphia Eagles. I don't think they will get into the playoffs. They might be able to win a game. They are not a Super Bowl contender in my mind, watching them play so far this season.
So what would you say? I'm going to ask a theoretical question here real quick. When the Eagles are at their best, what is their identity? When you think about this era of Eagles football over the last, 4 years now, what is the identity of the Philadelphia Eagles?
Multi-dimensional. Meaning when you think you stop the run, they're going through the air. When you think you stop through the air, they're able to run the ball down your throat.
But what would you, like, the first thing that you think about when you think of Eagles football is blank?
I think running the football.
Yeah, I would say that. I mean, years past, to me, it's been also stingy defense.
I think that's the defense identity. Like, I think it's getting to the quarterback and running the football.
I would agree with both of those things. They're not doing either right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the problem is, like, when you think of, like, Eagles football, right, every team does this where it's like, hey, what does it look like? Cardinals baseball is blank. Blues hockey is blank. Well, every team has that with their identity. For Eagles football, you should be getting after the quarterback, and you should be running the hell out of the football. And they're not doing either of those two things right now. And the most alarming thing for me with the Philadelphia Eagles right now is they seem to have a complete inability to run the football. A complete inability to do so. You look back at it, Saquon Barkley so far this year, this is just his yardage total by game. And some of this is a lack of carries. Like last night, he only had 12 carries because they were down by so much. The week before, he had 6 against the Broncos. That's not enough. If you have Saquon and this is going to be your identity, you've got to feed him, right? Like you got to keep him involved. Here's his yardage total, though, by week. 60, 88, 46, 43, 30, 58. That's not going to get it done. He has one game this season in which he has been over 60 yards on the ground. That's crazy. Last season, I'll go through this real quick. He had one game the entire season in which he was under 60 yards.
Who did that to him?
The Cleveland Browns, week 5 of last season, he had 18 carries for 47 yards. They still won the game 20-16, but that was it. Every other game last year, he had 65 yards or more on the ground, and almost every game he had at least 100 yards. He only had 5 weeks last year in which he was under 100 yards on the ground. We are now, 6 games into the season. He does not have a 100-yard performance on the ground yet.
Jeez.
So he already has more games this year with fewer than 100 yards than he had the entirety of last season.
Yeah.
That's their identity, and it's gone. It's just gone. So the Eagles that we knew from a year ago cease to exist when that's no longer something that is accessible for you. So I am alarmed by that. I am no longer just let's wait and see. The Eagles are going to be fine. No, the Eagles are not fine right now. Because if you can't access the number one thing that you're supposed to be known for, then you have ceased to become the team that we know you to be. So I'm worried about them. I think they can still figure this out, but that's got to get fixed, or it's going to be a long season for Philadelphia, and it's going to resemble what it was 2 years ago, where things collapsed, as opposed to last year, where they got back on track and then became a Super Bowl contender.
And I'm glad you brought that up, because we talk about the Eagles as if they have been this dominant force in the NFC over the last 5 seasons. And yes, they've been to 2 Super Bowls, once where they beat the Chiefs, once where they lost to them. They also have the stench of 2021 where they lose in that wild card round. You mentioned the season 2 years ago where they collapsed down the home stretch, lose to the corpse of Tom Brady in the playoffs. And there was reports that came out of Philadelphia of, hey, Sirianni and Jalen Hurts haven't talked to each other since week 5, right? This isn't the Chiefs, right? I'm willing to give the Chiefs a little bit more leeway than the 4 games that I brought up when they go through their struggles, because they actually have been to the Super Bowl multiple times, multiple AFC championship games. The Eagles don't have that, and I've never seen reports that come out where it's hey, Mahomes, Andy Reid, they don't really talk to each other except for when they pass by in the hallway, and then they say good morning to each other, and that's it. No. In Philadelphia, there was legitimate alarm to where I thought Sirianni should have been fired going into that season because of the reports that came out of Philadelphia.
On the other side of that game, I really enjoy watching Jackson Dart and Cam Scatterbo right now. They are fun as hell, and Cam Scatterbo is like Mike Allstott 2.0. I know T-Bone doesn't understand this reference. Alex, for you and I, that was our childhood. Was
Michael Allstott guy?
Look up Mike Allstott highlights. You're gonna be like, what is this? This is a battering ram. He was a fullback that effectively played the running back position for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers back in their heyday. He was unreal. It was fun as hell to watch, and it reminds me so much of what we're seeing right now from Cam Scatterbo. They're battering rams, and I'm saying they because Jackson Dart also is just using his helmet to spear through linebackers. This is not a long-term plan. You can't play this way for a 5 to 10 year stretch and feel like you're going to get away with it. The NFL is just too punishing. You're going to get hurt. But right now, it's really fun to watch. I enjoy it. Are you guys buying into it, though? Can they win this way for 2025? Forget beyond this year, but for 2025, can this be a team that wins, 10 games and actually has some level of success that makes you believe they could be a playoff contender?
Not 10 games. I think we're talking 8 or 9, which is still hype. Because in the past, it's just been okay, but you know what the Giants' outcome is. At least there's signs of life. I think what you just said is what my concern would be for the Giants to be a 10-win team or a team that could go in the playoffs and make noise. You're already down Malik Neighbors. Scatterbo and Jackson Dart cannot play this way for the rest of this football season. Somebody's going to get injured. And at what point do somebody get injured? How do you adjust? Because if your next option is Jameis Winston on the quarterback side, nope, don't put your thumbs up.
No.
Or
What
if you're
about
next,
Russ?
nope, God,
No.
no, please don't.
I don't know if you guys saw it. Russ had to go in for a play yesterday,
Yeah.
and Brian Dable sprinted to the medical tent to yell at the doctor for not allowing Jackson Dart to go back into the game. Like, he was so mad because Russell Wilson goes in, throws a completely uncatchable pass on a third down, which leads to them having
I
to
saw it on the highlights, and I was like, that had to be deflected, right? And then I saw the highlight again, and I went, oh, no, it didn't.
Oh, yeah, but then the other option on the running back side is if you lose Scadaboo, you go back to Tyron Tracy.
Who's fine.
Sure, fine, but it's not Scadaboo in terms of getting into the end zone. So I think injuries are going to plague this team at some point because these guys can't continue that way. But I still think there's going to be hype if you're the Giants because now you might have found a quarterback.
It has to be so annoying to play against Cam Scadaboo.
Oh,
it has to be so freaking annoying because this guy just all day long is a battering ram, just running into your chest and continuing to do so. And he does not care how much punishment he takes. He's going to continue to deliver that punishment to you. It's got to be the most miserable possible experience. I didn't know if this was going to translate to the NFL level. Not only has it translated, he's every bit as good at this level as he was in college. Like the production is going to be different because of the differing levels. But what he's doing is working with the same level of effectiveness. It's crazy.
And the part that I find so amazing, he's so tiny. He's 5'11".
Yeah, but
like,
he's built like a brick in a
I know,
one house.
but like you look at him and you go, okay, like my linebacker will take him on, and then he bulldozes through your linebackers and in the end zone. It's insane watching him. But to your point, like I'm with Alex. I don't think they can get to 10 wins, even if they stay healthy. I don't think they get there. I think they're probably a fun 7 or 8 win team. They are much more watchable than they have been over the last couple of years.
Next year, though, I would say if like this is it, and you bring back Neighbors and he's healthy, that's a team that could make some noise in the NFC.
And this will be enough to potentially save Dable's job, by the way.
I agree. I think they've got the makings of an interesting core. They've got their quarterback. They've got their running back. They've got a really great defensive line. And I mentioned, what does Eagles football look like? That's what Giants football has looked like for the last 20 years. Have a quarterback that makes plays in the winning moments, a running back that delivers a physical punishment, and a pass rush that gets after the quarterback. You have those elements. That's the starting point. And then you add in a number one receiver, which is what they've had most of the time when they've been good over the last 20 years. All right, you're starting to see the elements really taking form here. I think it could be good enough to save Dable's job. Their schedule is really not forgiving. They've got at Denver next week, then at Philadelphia, 49ers coming up, Green Bay, at Detroit, Washington. I mean, it's a tough road. If they can get to 7 or 8 wins this year, you probably feel good about it. They're a much more watchable product. And then you go into next year and think, with a couple of key additions, this could be a team that could win 10 or 11 games and look like a legitimate contender again. All right, coming up in about 15 minutes, 314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line for Ask Us Anything. If you guys have any questions, sports or otherwise, we'll get into those in just a little bit. But next, God, the Phillies hit that glass ceiling once again. What does it mean for them? What does it mean for the National League moving forward? We'll talk about it next year on 101 ESPN.
101 ESPN Sports Center.
I'm Jordan Deacon. The Sports Center update is driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. Last night, the Blues lost their home opener to the Minnesota Wild by a score of 5-0. They kick off their first road trip of the season in Calgary tomorrow. Pre-game show right here on 101 ESPN starts at 2 o'clock, and then puck drop will be at 3. And right here on 101 ESPN tonight, you can hear Game 5 of the ALDS, Mariners versus Tigers. Pre-game starts at 6:30, and first pitch is at 7:08. I'm Jordan Deacon. The Sports Center update was driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. See them at londoff.com. Chevy, together we drive. Are you kidding me?
Mario on 101 ESPN, broadcasting live from the ENB Granite Studios at the Centene Community Ice Center, presented by Bud Light and Skimmers Original Vodka Iced Tea on 101 ESPN.
Breaks his bat, Kirkring, gotta find it, throws to the plate, oh my goodness, he throws it away, and the Dodgers have won! The Dodgers win! And they are moving on to the NLCS pandemonium at Dodger Stadium. And your heart breaks for Ryan Kirkring. Dodgers ecstatic. You know, this game ends in the cruelest way for the Phillies.
Oh, boy, that's what it sounded like last night on Fox Sports as the Dodgers win 2-1 in 11 innings, winning the series against the Phillies 3-1 and sending Philadelphia home prior to the World Series once again. Alex, over the last 4 years, every year it seemingly has gotten worse in the postseason for the Phillies, despite the fact that every year they've been better during the regular season. They go to the World Series, then the NLCS, then the NLDS, and once again, they're home at the end of the NLDS this year. They have continued to build around this same core group of players. Earlier today, Jason Stark of The Athletic wrote, they're the first team in Major League Baseball history to win 7 consecutive regular seasons that are the full season 162, so eliminating 2020, improve on their regular season record every single year. They went from 80 to 81 to 82 to 87, 90, 95, and then this year, 96 wins. So they are consistently getting better in the regular season, and the postseason results are consistently getting worse. This is a big deal for the National League, because it appears as though the Phillies are about to have to go through some significant turnover this offseason. Kyle Schwarber is a free agent, and there's no guarantee he's back next year. We don't know what the future is going to hold for Zach Wheeler. They also have a free agent this offseason on their pitching staff with Ranger Suarez, who this year had a 3.2 ERA and is a huge part of what they were doing on their pitching side of things. There are questions on what do you do with Bohm? What do you do with Stott? Do you consider trading Nick Castellanos this offseason? What is the core going to look like next year? Is JT Realmuto a guy that you consider moving this offseason? Alex, what did this mean for the Phillies? And maybe every bit as importantly, what did this mean for the National League that the Cardinals currently find themselves in?
Man, for the Phillies, I mean, what I think it means is you've got to make changes, because somebody texted in, and this was my original thought as well, and they said it's just like in the NBA when Michael Jordan was playing in the 90s, all these great teams, they couldn't get over the hump because of one player on one team. Man, that's the first time they've lost to the Dodgers in the last few years. It's been Astros World Series, Diamondbacks CS, Mets DS, now Dodgers DS. It's not one team like the Dodgers keep beating them every year.
This isn't the Bills losing to Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs.
This is
very
the
different.
Phillies not being able to handle the big moment when the brights are the lightest, as BK likes to say. So what it means for the Phillies, you got to change personnel. And good luck doing it, because, yes, you've got free agents, but who are you going to play Schwarber with, who hit 40-plus bombs for you this year? Who are you going to replace Realmuto with, who can play behind the plate and also be another big bat? Like, Bryce Harper's there, but where are you going elsewhere for guys? Because the pitching staff, like we've mentioned, might be on the decline with Wheeler's injury and Nola's age. So what it means for the Phillies, I think this window might be closing for them, which is odd to say when you've got Bryce Harper. What it means for the National League is it takes one of those juggernauts out of the conversation. Now, I don't think Phillies become like an 85-win team. They're still going to be one of the premier teams in the NL East, but they're not going to be what the Phillies have always been, where you go into it and you're like, man, good luck trying to win this series against that team. I think they come back down to realization a little bit more of the National League. They fall into that murky middle of teams rather than that top tier of the teams.
Yeah, they have to make a change, but it's just change for change, and I don't know how much that it actually ends up helping them. One thing that they have an issue with, and I think it's why they probably have to let Real Muto and Schwarber walk this offseason, they were old. I mentioned this yesterday because to me it felt like the Yankees were old, and then I started looking at the roster and it was, okay, they're not as old as I thought they were. Stanton moves like he's 80, and that's what kind of gives it away.
They're unathletic, but they're not old.
Exactly. The Phillies are old. You look at their I think this is top 10 highest paid players on their roster. You've got 32 for Max Kepler, Taijuan Walker 32, Schwarber 32, Castellanos 33, Real Muto 34, Nola 32, Harper 32, Turner 32, Wheeler 35. They're all in their 30s.
Average player this year was 30.
Yeah, and
on the roster.
I can't remember. Stark had a great piece in the preseason that they were one of the oldest rosters that was trying to get to, I think it was like a fourth straight, or trying to do something that no roster that average age had done. They need to make changes. They need to be all in the Kyle Tucker sweepstakes to just get somebody that's youthful to add to their core so that when Bryce Harper, who's exiting towards out of his prime, you've got somebody that's there to pick up the slack when whether it's him or Trey Turner, one of those guys is coming out of their prime. It's just a matter of how quickly that digresses. They need someone that's going to be there that's still got multiple years left of their prime.
I just find this to be a fascinating case study because it's a reminder. I think the Phillies are doing this right. I think they've built this roster the right way, the way that if I was a fan of a team, I would want my team to emulate this. They went out and they acquired Bryce Harper. They went out and they acquired Trey Turner. They went out and they acquired Bryce Harper and JT Realmuto. They go out and in free agency, they make a really smart, at the time, shrewd signing in Zach Wheeler, who they said, all right, all of the metrics are there. It hasn't worked for him just yet, but this guy has ace potential, and they got it. And then they develop pitching from within. You have Ranger Suarez. You have Christopher Sanchez. You go make a, again, shrewd move to acquire Jesus Luzardo, who had previously been a very good starter, but at times recently there were some injuries, lack of effectiveness, but they got it right with him. Aaron Nola, they re-signed. They've done things the way that you would want a team to do it. And then they have Bryson Stott and Alec Boehm, who they developed internally that they're able to supplement the talent with. Every move that they've made, you look at and you're like, all right, this should be the thing that gets you over the top. And it hasn't. It's the same thing that I said previously about the Diamondbacks, where it's like, man, all of the stuff that you would want your team to do, they did if you're a mid-market. And it didn't matter. It wasn't enough. And for the Phillies, it has not been enough. And so it's a reminder that there is no one way to build a roster that can win a championship. Everything that you do, this game is so incredibly cruel, it could still fail. Mm-hmm. And the Phillies, despite stacking these good moves on top of one another, they never broke through. And they were never able to get over that hump, and they continued to hit that glass ceiling. And just for me as a baseball fan, I can't speak for anybody else. I think it's a baseball tragedy that this team never was able to win the ultimate prize. I think it stinks, but it's a reminder that even when you do it right, it still may fail. So I don't know. I don't have the silver lining of what I'm saying here. I just, if I'm a Phillies fan, I don't know how you can believe that it's going to be different next year if you bring back the same core. So I agree that you have to change it up, but the odds are probably likely that it will be worse next year than it was this year.
Yeah, well, and changing it up, could take a massive impact on just your team morale overall, because when you eliminate guys who are impactful players, things change pretty quickly in terms of how that team is viewing themselves.
And you mentioned the Phillies, an interesting case study. I find the Dodgers fascinating if they end up pulling this off and getting to the World Series and are able to run it back-to-back, because you want to talk about a team that's doing it the right way. It's the way that the Dodgers have spent. Now, it's unlimited. It's unsustainable for any other organization
outside
maybe the Yankees.
It feels different to me.
But my point here is it shows you how hard it is. You mentioned for the Phillies, right? How hard it is. They've done it the right way, and it still has failed. I think it shows you they've done it the right way, and they've taken it to as close as they can possibly get. You actually even have to go a further level to build the perfect roster, and the only team that can do that is the LA Dodgers.
And I think that's bad for baseball. If this version of the Dodgers...
I think they're the villain of the National League, which I know you've pushed back on.
Oh, maybe they are the villain of I think they're the villain of baseball.
That's
what I mean by that is if this team given what they were this year, if they end up still finding a way to win the World Series this year, I don't know how you can push back against a cap. And I don't know how you can do it anymore, because it would signify to me that it is enough to just buy a World Series now. You know, like this team was not that good this year. They weren't. And all year long, I looked at them and I was flawed. Didn't matter. Still enough to overcome all of these other flawed teams across the National League. By the way, you feeling good about your Brewers, T-Bone?
No.
Speaking of flawed rosters.
Stop it. Don't back off of the horse you've been riding on.
6-0 back against the wall. All pressure now facing the Milwaukee Brewers going into a series deciding Game 5 in Milwaukee.
Yeah, but they're the one now. They're the one that has all the pressure.
Oh yeah,
because the Cubs are playing with house money, right? Like that's what always scares me, especially when you get up to a 2-0 lead and dominate those 2 games. By the way, and then you go into Chicago, you lay 2 eggs.
Oh, this
you
is
can't
delightful.
find a way to win. And what
this
makes it worse,
delightful.
Stop.
I can't handle him if they lose because I want to watch Milwaukee win. I think they are the only. To me, they can give the Dodgers a run for their money. I would pick the Dodgers in that series.
Yeah, clearly, as we're seeing right now, they've looked great the last couple of days.
The Cubs will not be able to beat the Dodgers. You can't change my mind.
I'll tell you the part that they screwed the pooch on was not hitting Matthew Boyd. Like, are you kidding me? Short rest with Matthew Boyd and you can't hit this guy? They'll be fine, though.
Yeah,
just stop it, PK.
We'll see.
I guess let him enjoy his party right now, and then he can
Cubs versus
on
Brewers
Monday.
Tomorrow night, Game 5. We'll see who advances to the NLCS. One of those two will be taking on the LA Dodgers as the Brewers officially have their backs.
It doesn't matter because they're all going to lose.
The wall. Coming up in 15 minutes, Mike McKenna, former NHL goalie, will join us here on the show. But next, time for Ask Us Anything. If you guys have any questions, sports or otherwise, we'll get to those next year on 101 ESPN. Alex, I love playing over on Underdog, and now that the football season is in full swing, I can go with the college side of things. I can get the NFL side of things, so you should get your picks in right now over on the Underdog app. Download that app today. I've got my pick in for the Mizzou versus Alabama game tomorrow, Alex. I've got Ahmad Hardy. They have a little promo, discount the Tigers going on,
I love those
promotion
promos.
for me on the Underdog app. I've got higher than Ahmad Hardy's 92.5 rushing yards. That's down from 102 over there. I've got higher on Ryan Williams, 70.5 receiving yards. And I like a Brett Norfleet touchdown tomorrow in this game. You put that all together, the 3 picks, that ends up being a 13-1 odds selection on the Underdog app.
Get the most money you can on that one. Underdog is easy to use. BK just explained it to you. You pick your favorites where they go higher or lower on stats, and you could win up to 5,000 times your cash. So download the Underdog app today and make sure you sign up with promo code BKO to score $100 in bonus funds or entries when you play your first $5. Again, that's promo code BKO. Underdog, make plays win money. Must be 18 plus and present in Missouri. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms _DFS_.html for details. Concerned with your play, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org.
Live from the Centene Community Ice Center inside the ENB Granite Studios, you're tuned into BK and Ferrario on 101 ESPN. Presented by Bud Light and Skimmer's Original Vodka Iced Tea on 101 ESPN. You've got questions, we may have the answers. Maybe. It's BK and Ferrario's Questions and Answers on 101 ESPN.
314-399-9646. That's the Air Comfort Service text line for Ask Us Anything. If you guys have any questions, sports or otherwise, go ahead and get them in right now on the Air Comfort Service text line, and we will answer them here on BK and Ferrario. Let's start out with this one, Alex. This comes from the text line. Is there any shot that Mizzou could be sent down this year to refine his defense, or is he here no matter what?
No. One game we're going to act like the guy's a bum defensively.
It wasn't a great play.
He had one misplay, which I put some on him, but I also put some on the forward to leave your defenseman out to dry in that spot. But no, he's not going down to the American Hockey League at all. He's here. And even Doug Armstrong said, like, look, I don't care what he looks like defensively or overall this season. You don't know what you got in a defenseman until he plays closer to 200 games. So, no, he's here. Growing pains will be with Logan Mizzou. I think people are upset because Zach Bolduc scored 2 goals already.
Yeah, I don't think there's a scenario where he goes down. And if there is, I think it's like a 2% chance. And that would mean like he's like ridiculously bad defensively. And last night, like, sure, he had the one play. It was kind of a bouncing puck. Holloway's the one who kind of left him out to dry. I didn't read too much into that. I thought he looked okay defensively last night. I think he's going to ultimately be fine. I don't see any scenario where he goes down.
314-399-9646. That's the Air Comfort Service text line. By the way, to pass this along, we are broadcasting live today at the at Centene Community Ice Center from the ENB Granite Studios. Morning skate is taking place right now. Luke Korak tweeting out the lines. Booch, Thomas, Snuggie as they started the game yesterday. The second line is as expected. Third line does have a little bit of a change. Neighbors with Suter and Texier. On the fourth line, it'll be Joseph with Bukestad and Walker. No Toropchenko on the ice today. We don't know exactly what's going on there. We'll get an update from Monty after practice today. Alex, my guess here is that Texier will be in for that third line. Do you like the move?
I don't mind it. I didn't think Joseph had a bad game last night. He had a couple of scoring chances. He was fast, but I mean, they were juggling lines up altogether. Calgary's not as physical of a team as Minnesota, so my guess is they're going to look for a little bit more offense with Texier on that line, but it also goes to show you nobody won that spot. Like if Sundqvist was healthy, I don't think Joseph or Texier would be in the lineup. I think it would be Bukestad on that third line as the wing. So, yeah, I don't mind it. I mean, you're just looking for a spark for that depth, and you just hope Texier can provide some offense.
From the text line, where are you guys watching the Mizzou game tomorrow?
My house.
My house with 3 toddlers.
Yeah, I'll be watching it at home as well. I was thinking about going to this game, but there's just my wife had something going on later on in the day, so it wasn't going to be realistic for me to be able to get there and get back. My hope is that I'll be able to go to the Mizzou versus Texas A&M game later this season. But yeah, I'll be watching it from home as well. From the 314, T-Bone, as a non-Mizzou fan dealing with the annoying Mizzou fans, would you prefer that Mizzou gets beat down by Bama this weekend, or would you rather they win so BK says more crazy things about them next week and then they have their dreams crushed later on in the season?
I always root for them to get destroyed. There was nothing better than watching BK show up on Monday after they didn't even show up to Texas A&M.
Oh, God.
It's
What a
just
friend.
nothing better. I would root for that. And because, like, if you get destroyed, like, okay, now once you lose one game, sure, you technically have playoff hope still. They're a lot less than what they are before you lose that first game, and especially if it's an ugly fashion, as I learned with Illinois and Indiana.
All right, from the 314, guys, is it fair to say the Blues already lost the trade for Mayu
Yes.
versus
Yeah, let's all say the trade's over, guys.
Mayu for Bolduc?
My,
Bolduc on pace, I think, for 82 goals so far.
Yeah,
this
because
year.
I'm sure Bolduc would have scored 3 last night for the Blues in that game.
He scored 2 for his team. So.
Seriously.
Yeah, well, his team probably
Did you
took
see
the
our
eyes away
third
from
line?
the goaltender.
Well, our third line did nothing, so Bolduc would have scored for sure on that line. I've got a buddy of mine who went through like the.
Oh, they took one of his goals away, by the way.
Yeah,
so
he's
at
only
2.
got 2. It took
Still
him
on
a
pace
while.
for 82.
I've got a buddy of mine that went through the 7 stages of grief when the Bolduc trade happened, and then of course he's been texting me a lot of, boy, how do we win this trade if Bolduc's going to be doing this much? I'm like, hey
Just
buddy, relax,
stop.
okay? He's going to
Just
score 20
stop.
goals. I don't think he's going to be able to do this 82 goal pace.
Just
We'll
stop.
see.
It's going to be fine.
314-399-9646
Montreal also lost one of those games that he scored in too, by the way.
is the Air Comfort Service text line
Those
from
bums.
Dr. Xander over on the YouTube chat. If Mizzou wins on Saturday, BK is going to say the most wild things on Monday.
What's
The
the
word
wildest?
national and championship
Okay.
will be
There it is. There it is.
That or Hardy for Heisman will be one.
That's not going to be wild. If he goes off, Hardy for Heisman should be a real
wild.
thing.
What if he does? What if he's not the reason they won the game?
Well, then I'm not going to be saying Hardy for Heisman.
No, he will be.
I will be. He'll be leading the country probably still in
No.
rushing at that point in time. Yeah, if you beat a top 8 program in the country and you do so with authority, why wouldn't I say the words national and championship directly one after the other on Monday? Of
Say
course I will.
national championship contender because
Correct.
nobody in the
That's what I would say.
SEC, nobody in the SEC is.
Let's just be honest. This
Better
isn't
than
the
Mizzou.
Bama of old. This is like the Kansas
No,
team. of
let's
Skip
be
it out.
let's be honest. Your team,
I
you
hope
wish they
Jamie-
could.
I hope Jamie comes on the air on Monday if they win and
Let-
goes. They
no.
haven't played anybody
We need
yet.
to be real honest about this. You're just sour because your team got butt whooped 53 points in a game that you should have won.
All right, from Cat Dad Gamer,
They're gonna win it all,
what career
Indiana.
would you be in if you had nothing with sports or radio available to you?
Yours would probably be a fitness model, right? Abercrombie and Fitch model,
No.
leg model, foot model
That's not cool, man.
with your
My chicken legs?
with your chicken legs and your blisters on your big toes.
Not cool, first of all. Teaching or PR would probably be the lane that I would try to walk through.
Yeah, I mean, PR or teaching would be where I would want to, or where I probably should go. I had this conversation with Katie the other day. Man, like, part of me wants to, like, go into, like, crime scene investigation. That'd be fun.
Is that because you're watching this?
Dude, I'm so
documentary?
upset. Like, I've been, like, I'm the weirdo that, like, is actually interested in the serial killer stuff, not because it fascinates me, but, like, what goes on in their mind and, like, all of that stuff. So, yeah, that'd
You
probably
should
be
do
it.
psychology.
Yeah, well, I looked at it, I was like, oh, maybe we just take like some classes just for fun. And I'm like, oh God, like the like length of stuff you'd have to go through. I'm like, I'll pass.
Yeah,
I'll just
turns out
dream
I
about
hate it.
I
that.
do a lot of schooling.
I
just
took
dream about
psychology
that.
in college. I
I
hated
do too.
it.
Despised it.
I
That's
was
too
Said
much
BK
thinking.
would be a political agitator. I like
He already
politics,
is.
like the political game.
I would never
so
want
to
to get
speak.
into it. Though.
No. hell no.
I don't think, and people will laugh at this, I don't think I'm shady enough or comfortable enough with the stuff that you have to do to get into politics. So that would ultimately probably get me out of it. But yeah, I don't really like this series, by the way, Alex.
The
This
monster one.
I loved the last 2 series. I thought they were amazing and they were so well done. And I was curious about the story and like it tied me in immediately.
This one's dark, but I mean, like if you know the backstory of Ed Gein, like he's a dark dude, and so like I expected it to get to this length when the series came out. But I mean, yeah, I mean, this is not going to be an appetite for a lot of people. But
Yeah.
I mean, like the story behind him is like a weird freaking dude. Like, I mean, he inspired Hitchcock to make the movie Psycho, for the movie to be made of Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And I think it inspired Silence of the Lambs, too, with what's his face? Cowboy. No, that's not his name. I don't remember what the serial killer in that one was.
I understand. Like, the story itself is dark, and so you have to portray it as being dark. I'm not sure that I love the way that they've told the story. And then after reading up a little bit more on it, I think they took a few too many liberties as well. And I understand you kind of have to do that to make it like a compelling narrative for the viewer. It just doesn't. It doesn't do anything for me. I've really enjoyed the last couple of these, but the way that they have told this story, it's the first one that was Ryan Murphy. This is the first one that he didn't actually direct. It's just associated with his production team. I don't think that it lives up to the same expectations as the previous couple, but we can get off on that now. All right, alongside Alex Ferrario and Tanner Hendrickson, I'm Brandon Kiley. Buffalo Bill, by the way.
Buffalo Bill, that's what it was,
of the individual
Thank you.
Silence of the Lambs.
Walker, Texas Ranger.
No. That's
Norris.
a completely different thing.
Serious?
No. But he said cowboy. That was the first one that popped in my head.
He was being serious.
Yeah, he was totally being serious.
Coming up next, Mike McKenna,
Great
former
television
NHL
show.
goalie, will explain to us how much of last night was on Jordan Bennington. Was it nothing? We'll talk about that next here on 101 ESPN.
BK and Ferrario are broadcasting live from the E&B Granite Studios at the Centene Community Ice Center, presented by Bud Light and Skimmers Original Vodka Iced Tea on 101 ESPN. We're going between the pipes with former NHL goaltender Mike McKenna.
By Mike McKenna. How do you like me now?
Between the Pipes is refreshed by Macadoodle Spirits, fine wine, beer, and cigars. Now open in Darden Prairie.
Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. Rough start to the season for the Blues last night. They lose 5-0. We're talking it over now with Mike McKenna, former NHL goalie. He joins us each and every week on behalf of Macadoodles. Does so today via the Callier and Thompson hotline. Mike, we appreciate the time as always, man. Let's get right into this because we now have real hockey to actually discuss. I do want to get your goalie expertise on this game first. Jordan Binnington allows 5 goals last night. How many of them, though, were actually on Jordan Binnington, in your opinion, Mike McKenna?
It wasn't his sharpest game, and thank you for having me. I'm not of the opinion Jordan Binnington lost this game for the Blues at all, but I also felt like it wasn't his best. And really for me, I look at the goal that Boldy scored in front of the deflection Kaprizov where Binner just bobbled that puck coming at him. Usually that's a simple sweep it up with your hand, no problem. And it felt to me like he was pressing a little bit and was a little bit early to leave his edges. So I can't really fault him on the goal that Hartman scored because Mayu's stick kind of put it in from a weird angle after attacking, and it was just a strange goal in the first place. So not Boldy's. I really don't think that was, but just seeing, again, how the pucks were not controlled as well and being a little bit early down. You might put 2 on them at most, but in a game like that, you'd have to be perfect to even get to overtime. So it's a tough game for Binnington, especially when, Gustafsson seemed to be seeing everything and everything was just sticking to him versus Binnington. Pucks are bouncing off. They're bouncing off his D in front. It's just a bad combination of things happening.
Yeah, well, and I want to get to Gustafsson and just the offense's inability to get to the front. But one more on Binnington, Mike, because I talked about this on postgame last night. Ryan Hartman has just had Jordan Binnington's number. I think in the last 5 years, he has scored 14 goals before last night's game against Jordan Binnington. Like, how is that a thing to where one guy just has the number of a goaltender?
That's my Frank Vetrano for me. I couldn't stop that guy anywhere. American League, NHL, he was my kryptonite, man. You do see this, and I don't know if it's something that has anything to do with the way Ryan Hartman plays or any tactical advantage. I just think the guy plays a hard game, and for whatever reason against the Blues, Hartman's best comes out. And, you see it with him that he can be a driver of a play, Hartman can. He's got better hands than you realize. Like that little touch play he made before he scored to get past Mayu in the first place was, really, really skilled stuff. But he can just grind, too. And I feel like his game matches up well against the Blues. And we saw it last night. Like, I think it really carried that the heaviness of his game and his team with the Wild, it was more than the Blues. So I think that's kind of been a consistent in the last couple of years.
One of the things that we opened up with today, Mike, was just how much does that game really matter in the big picture? Because it sucked. You lose 5-0 in your season opener. That's not the way you want to get this thing started. But I mentioned this stat earlier today, and it was something that was referenced today in the paper. You look back at the last 3 of the last 5 teams that lost by at least 5 goals in the opener. They went on to go to the Stanley Cup final with last year's Oilers, the year before that, the Oilers, and then the 2019 Boston Bruins. How much does that matter in the big picture, in your opinion?
It doesn't. It really doesn't. Listening to Monty talk afterwards, it's one game. He's right. The problem is, though, is that you still want to look at that game for more than just the score. And I think it's easy to say that the Blues were unlucky. They didn't have puck luck. The other team's goalie was great. They just weren't good enough. And especially in the second half of the game when the Blues, it felt like to me, really pushed. Second period really pushing, throwing everything at the net. And they didn't get a bounce. They didn't get it going the way they needed to. The energy wasn't there and the body language wasn't there. Like they just felt like they collapsed a bit. And looking at how passive they looked in the D zone and just waiting on things to happen at times, that's not the game that Jim Montgomery wants the Blues to play. They're an up-tempo team. it felt like they kind of got afraid of their own shadow for a little bit, and can't help but wonder if it'd been a little bit different if Robert Thomas' shot off the post could have given him some juice later. But I just feel like that this game has teaching points and learning points to it. It's not the end of the world. But there is a little bit of concern at just how they folded. Like that's a frustrating thing as a coach. You don't want to see it. So you just hope when they go on the road trip that they come out with fire and they are able to carry it for 60 minutes.
I think the question that I've seen a lot already, Mike, is it's the first game of the season. It's on home ice. You ended the year last year winning 15 straight home games. How does a team that comes out of an offseason get outworked and not have jump right away when you play Minnesota?
Well, it's a different lineup, too. It's not everybody, but you've got some players that are learning on the job as to be a Blue. P.S. Suter never played a game at home, never worn the jersey there. Nick Bukestad's new in the lineup. You're also got Jimmy Snuggerud's playing his first, opening game of the year. Logan Mailloux, didn't have a great game, guys. But that's it can happen. It's just the first night's not the night you want to do it. So I don't think that this is always the same club no matter what. What you're really just hoping is that they are able to carry the mentality of the team into the next year. So, hey, man, they laid an egg. They know it. I'm sure Braden Shen's got the command of that room to realize that this isn't going to happen again.
We're talking to Mike McKenna for another couple of minutes here on BK and Ferrario. He joins us each and every Friday on behalf of Macadoodles. I just saw this. We're out at dinner or at Centene today, where the Blues are on the ice for morning skate. Jeremy Rutherford updating said that the Blues are going through a lot of work early in today's practice, putting pucks on net with a body in front. The lack of that was an issue last night. Monty getting right on it today at practice. How quickly do you think the Blues can correct some of the issues that we saw last night?
They can. They need to. Philip Gustafson's got a really quick chest. It's just if you shoot the puck in the middle of the net,
I've never heard that phrase.
That is my new favorite line. It's got a quick chest.
Yeah. And there's just a lot of that. Gustafson did make one save going side to side on Holloway, with his shoulder and face. That was awesome. Just an incredible save. Second period, I think it was. And he did make some good saves. I thought Gus was good in this game, but he didn't steal it for the Wild. He's a goalie that is very good at being in position. He's very technical, and that's most goalies in today's world. Unless you're playing against John Gibson or Peter Mrazek, who could end up in the corner, most goalies today, if they see the puck, they're in front of it. So it's in the DNA of the Blues. You've got players that can do it. Shen will go there. Buchnevich will go there. Holloway will. But it's also just training everybody to make sure that's the case. Again, Snuggerud's coming from college. I know he had a great cameo last year, but he's still coming from college, and they're going to get on top of it quickly. But it's got to be a memo that this is the regular season now. It's not preseason. You got to play hard hockey. You got to be willing to get to the front of the net and not hang out in the corners. So it was kind of fun to see Gus play well. We were teammates in Belleville a couple years ago, and when he was like a rookie, and I didn't think that kid had a pulse, and now he just signed a deal for 30 schmil. So I feel really happy for him. But if you want to pound it into his chest all night, you're not going to score very often on him.
Mike, from my perspective, watching that top line, man, it just did not look it flowed really well. I know they took Snuggerud off of it. Montgomery said Neighbors had a little bit of a jump. But what did you make of Thomas and Buchnevich early on in that game?
Early on, it wasn't too bad. I still think that, I still say Jordan Kyrie's at his best, Robert Thomas, and is Snuggerud going to be that guy to play up there? I do think that the team just in general, even when they're playing better in the first and second periods, they just seemed out of sync to me, guys. So you need Buchnevich to be flying up and down the wall, comfortably with the puck on his blade and in motion. I didn't see enough of that last night. I feel good when the zone entry's wide, when it's Buchnevich with the puck. It felt like Thomas was the only one entering with the puck last night. And ultimately, as the center, that's really not what you're looking for. You're trying to get your wingers to get that puck and get it through and then get some traffic to the front. So I thought they were fine for the first, but then it really just felt like they were a little bit out of sync. And you can tell Monty felt the same. It's not just a score. He's still trying to figure out optimal lines here and find some chemistry that he can always have in his back pocket down the road.
All right, Mike. we're going to potentially need to get out there to Macadoodles this weekend to get ourselves some good drinks, to be able to take in all this college football that we've got on Saturday, NFL action on Sunday, Blues back in action. We got playoff baseball this weekend as well. It's beautiful weather. It feels like the fall outside. What can people expect when they walk through those doors over at Macadoodles today or later on this weekend?
Well, it is fire pit season. So you come see us at the corner of Bryan and Feisey Road out here in Dardenne Prairie. We're just north of the Page Extension. What's really hitting hard right now is it's not just wine, but we're getting into bourbon and whiskey season. We're also starting to find some things in rum and tequila that are even still starting to go on. People are finding añejos and reposados, these aged tequilas that are really nice. I got a bundle going right now. You buy a bottle of Tapatio tequila, it'll give you the chance to purchase a Fortaleza. Now, I only have 4 available, so you better hurry up. I've had this happen before, and people think I have unlimited supply. No, I've got 4 Fortaleza. I'm also going to have a bundle out today with some E.H. Taylor sitting there. So, you're going to come out here, you get a Buffalo Trace bottle, get some E.H. Taylor, get ready for the weekend, get your fire pit out. We got firewood here at Macadoodles. We still have all those canned cocktails ready to go as well, and all the beer. Dude, we just got a huge shipment. 4 hands hit hard. We got Fat Elvis in the building. We got a can of beer today from Second Shift that looks like it's got a Reese's peanut butter cup on the thing, and I'm not even a huge beer guy, but I'm going to definitely drink 1 or 2 of those tonight.
We appreciate the time, as always, my friend. We'll be certainly looking forward to everything that you guys have available over there. T-Bone heard peanut butter cup on the side of a beer and got a little excited over here. Alex heard Fat Elvis, was excited about that.
I heard
a lot
firewood.
of fun over there at Macadoodles. Mike, appreciate the time, as always. We'll talk with you again next week.
You got it. Sounds good. And just quick shout out here, man. I thought that was a great premiere by Joey and Curbs last night on TV. Just awesome. So that was a lot of fun to listen to him. So I'll talk to everybody next week.
You got it, man.
See you, Mike.
It's Mike McKenna. Appreciate his time as always. Former NHL goalie. He joins us each week on behalf of the folks over at Macadoodles. Alex, on that point, you were able to hear, so to bring people a little behind the scenes on what this is like this year. Alex's job is a little different because you're not only doing everything that you've done in the past for the radio side of things, you're also hearing, because you need to know how Curbs and Joey are going to react. Mm-hmm. You're hearing what the truck is telling them at times. So you're kind of keeping track of that, and then you're doing things accordingly. What was your perspective of what it was like last night and how different it is from what has typically been the case for Joey and Curbs on the call?
I mean, I second what Mike McKenna said. I think Curbs and Joey did a really good job considering the circumstances where there was no real rehearsal with this. So what I had in my ear that people can't hear is what Curbs and Joey have in their ear. And it's essentially the executive producer of FanDuel Sports Midwest giving them cues on, hey, you're doing this, you're doing that. So imagine that you're having to do play-by-play for a hockey game. The whole time you're calling what's taking place and focusing on the game. In your ear, you've got people talking about, hey, cue up this camera, do this camera. Curbs, I need you to read this. Joey, you're going to do this next break. That is ongoing throughout the entire game. And so Curbs he's done it before, but he's never really had to do that because radio is just you do the game and that's about it. You just talk. So I think they did an admirable job. For me, it was just really navigating, making sure that we sync up with them because what people don't know is like the television is itself, but we've got to line up perfectly for when the television is done doing their replay conversation off a video that Joey's looking at and sync it up perfectly to get to the game action. I know there were a couple of people that messaged last night because we missed the first couple of seconds of the opening faceoff. That's the hiccups that we're going to run into. But I really felt like by the second period, Grant and Jordan did an amazing job back in the studio. We synced it up perfectly. But I didn't get to listen to a whole lot of the actual broadcast with Curbs and Joey because I had the truck in my ear as well. T-Bone was sitting next to me. There's a lot of anxiety building up for me because I'm listening to 4 different people in one ear and trying to listen to Curbs and Joey in the other. But, I think they broke the game down perfectly. I think Curbs and Joey did what they've done best in terms of create entertainment on top of broadcasting hockey. And Joey was able to use his little telestrator where he's enabled to kind of draw plays. So I think in the next couple of weeks, 3 or 4 more games, this thing's going to be down perfectly and people won't even know a difference.
He's Alex. That's T-Bone on BK. Appreciate the time from Mike McKenna, as always, joining us here on BK and Ferrario. Coming up next, it is time for our weekly football pick'em. I have heard from both Alex and T-Bone individually. They both hate the lines this week, so this should be a fun one. We'll get into that next year on 101 ESPN.
Broadcasting live from the Centene Community Ice Center inside the ENB Granite Studios. This is BK and Ferrario on 101 ESPN. Presented by Bud Light and Skimmers Original Vodka Iced Tea on 101 ESPN.
right, let's get into our football pick'em for the week. If you guys are unfamiliar with the way that this works, we do it every single Friday here on BK and Ferrario. We will give you our 3 favorite picks against the spread. There are only a couple of qualifiers here. One has to be against the spread. Can't be props. We're not doing totals. It's against the spread for these games this weekend. The other, it just has to be played by Monday morning. It has to be finished, concluded by the time that we get back on the air on Monday. So no Monday Night Football for us here on BK and Ferrario. Alex is winning this month and this season. He has 21 points for the year. He has 3 points so far in this month. T-Bone also with 3. Alex, though, has the tiebreaker. I have 1 point this month, 11 on the season. T-Bone is in second place with 13. So Alex, as the winner so far, we will allow you to go first. What is your 1 point play for the upcoming weekend?
Of course, I got to start with this one. All right, I preface this by not liking any of these plays in the NFL, but my 1 point play for this week is I'm taking the Raiders minus 4.5 on home against the or at home against the Titans. This team has been bad all season long, but I do feel like against the Titans team might be the opportunity for them to open it up. I still have somewhat faith in Geno Smith. I have zero faith in the Raiders defense, but you're playing a team that offensively isn't that gifted. So 4.5, I don't like that line. I was kind of hoping it would be like 2.5 and I could get the hook for the Raiders on the field goal. But instead, I got to go with it, and I'll lie my coffin in minus 4.5 Raiders 1 point play.
Isn't Bowers out in this one? I thought
He's
Bowers
expected to be.
Yeah. Oof. Well, the last couple of weeks you've picked games. I'm like, I am not going to watch it, and I'll find out if Alex was right or wrong on Monday.
Yeah, well, I don't watch it either. That's why I pick them probably, so I don't have to have any panic.
All right, guys, my 1 point play. I'm kind of with Alex. I wish I could have 3 1 point plays this week. I'm going with the Jacksonville Jaguars plus 1.5 against the Seattle Seahawks. I was impressed by the Jags defense and what they did against Patrick Mahomes on Monday night this past week. And I like the Seahawks defense, but they're just not healthy. And I think that that's going to allow for Trevor Lawrence and that's Jags offense to put up points. It's only 1.5, so it's essentially like a pick 'em. I like the Jaguars in this one. They're my 1 point play.
I like both of those teams. They're two of my favorite teams in the NFL to watch. So I didn't have a strong feeling one way or the other in that game, but I'm excited to watch it this weekend. That's for sure, especially in the noon slate. For me, my 1 point play this week, ladies and gentlemen,
Mizzou taking down the Tide.
I think it's going to happen. I think that my Missouri Tigers have what it takes.
You just ruined it for them, man.
To beat the Alabama Crimson Tide. They are at home. They are a 3.5 point underdog in this game. Love the fact that I'm getting the hook here. I think that at a minimum, Missouri is going to be able to keep this game close. I do think it could be decided by a field goal one way or the other. That is enough to cover this spread. I think Ahmad Hardy is a matchup nightmare for the University of Alabama. I think that Missouri's defensive line is unlike anything that Bama's offensive line has had to deal with thus far in 2025. I think Missouri not only covers, but wins this game outright. Give me them as my 1 point play. M-I-Z.
Roll Tide.
I'm not going to do that because you just ruined it for him. Why did you have to put him in your pick 'em, man? Keep your thoughts to yourself if you believe that the Tigers can win.
I think Missouri is one of the best plays this weekend. So I'm going with it.
And then you had to just lean into it.
Right.
Do you want to also say that you don't understand this line?
I think that the line is correct, and I understand why they're going with it here. There's probably a lot of money coming in out on Alabama, I would have to imagine. Yeah. But I think that Missouri is the right side here with the 3.5 points. I would not like it as much at 2.5. I love it at 3.5.
Let's go to my 2 point play because your Kansas City Chiefs are in action at home for Sunday Night Football, and I am picking the Lions plus 2.5. I do think the Chiefs have figured it out on offense. Mahomes is starting to really pick it up. I don't think their defense can stop Detroit's offense. And this, to me, tells me it's going to be a shootout. So I think Detroit may lose, but I think it's going to be a very tight football game, like a 1 point line, hopefully. But the Lions, with their offense, with 2 running backs, I think it's going to make life hell for the Chiefs. So Detroit plus 2.5, but 2 point play.
I think the Lions are winning that game.
I hope so, because that would make my life a lot easier.
Yeah. My 2 point play.
Are you going with it?
My Monday is going to be so sweet because Saturday the Tide are going to roll into town and roll over the Tigers.
It's going to be a hurricane.
Followed by a Sunday night where the Lions chomp down the Chiefs. Yeah, give me Detroit plus 2.5 at Kansas City. I'm 100% with Alex. I was a little hesitant because I pulled this one out, and then during the commercial break, I threw it back in and removed what my original 1 point play was. I just don't think the Chiefs can stop them. I think it will be a shootout. I do think the Lions will come out on top. And I've actually started to trust Jared Goff than I had in previous years. I like Lions plus 2.5.
All right, for my 2-point play, I'm going back to the NFL, where, Alex, you mentioned this game during our break. I'm going with it as our 2-point play. I like the Colts minus 6.5 against the Arizona Cardinals. It is unknown right now if Kyler Murray is going to be playing in this game on Sunday, and frankly, I don't care. Kyler Murray is not going to change that much for me. I think that the Colts are just a significantly better football team than the Arizona Cardinals. The Cardinals find ways to lose games. The Colts this year are doing the opposite. They're finding ways to win games. So give me the Colts minus the 6.5 points. I think they win this one by a pretty significant margin.
Over on DraftKings, that one bumped to 7. And when I looked at it, I'm like, ooh, I don't know if I want to take 7 feels like it's going to be a tie. And we all know what ties are like, but I like that 6.5 hook that you found. So
yeah, it's dropped. It was 7.5
now
yesterday.
It
went down to 7 this morning.
Good.
It's down to 6.5 at some
I like that one.
My guess is that probably means they think Kyler Murray is trending towards playing.
Oh, yeah.
That's my guess.
So my 3-point play, I am going with a team that is starting to heat up a little bit, that's starting to figure it out, and in my opinion has a really competent quarterback. I'm taking the Patriots minus 3.5 on the road in the Saints. Now, the road game is what scares me a little bit here. But, man, after watching the Patriots in these last couple of weeks, their offense has figured it out. I don't think Stephon Diggs is going to do what he did against the Bills consistently. But, man, Drake May is just a threat through the air and with his legs. And I think that defense is going to be enough to keep it pressure-filled on Spencer Rattler. So, Patriots minus 3.5. That's my 3-point play.
I like it because I nearly considered using that one in my top 3 here. But for my 3-point play, I'm going to college football, one of the best rivalries in the country, the Red River rivalry between Texas and Oklahoma. Look, Mateer somehow is back. He's he's going to play. He just had hand surgery. They're not going to stop him. Arch Manning sees ghost. He's terrible. One of the worst quarterbacks in the country. I think Oklahoma runs away with this, and I'm getting them at minus 1.5. Yes, please. Give me the Sooners.
I've actually got it a little better. I found it at minus 1. Would you like that?
Yes, please.
Don't give it to them.
Yes, please.
The reason why I'm going to give it to him is because I, too, will be taking the Oklahoma Sooners minus 1 against Texas. Texas's biggest issue against Florida, which I learned, unfortunately, the hard way last week, was that they didn't know how to deal with pressure. Arch Manning freaks out. He doesn't know how to handle it right now. He's still a very young quarterback. He's unproven at this level. And unfortunately for Texas, it's a learning curve. Oklahoma has one of the best defensive lines in the country. I believe they're number 1 in the country right now in pressure rate. That's Arch Manning's nemesis, and I get them minus 1 on a neutral site? This line's wrong. I'm sorry. It's just wrong. John Mateer is going to play. Yes! He's going to tear up this Texas defense. Oklahoma's defense is going to run rampage all over Texas. Oklahoma minus 1. Easiest play of the week. They're going to win by 14 plus.
Now, you know what? I instigated this rule last week. T-Bone, I'm going to allow you the opportunity to take your pick away after BK just did that to you.
No, because I trust in it, but I wasn't going to say the words of, I don't get this line or this line is wrong.
I don't get the line. It's just wrong. They got it wrong.
Yes.
See, I wouldn't say that either, Brandon. Because every time we say that.
Fist bump for me to win, baby.
Every time we play that clip on Monday of this line is wrong or I don't get this line, there's never the ding for correct at the end of that sounder. It is always the wrong buzzer.
Well, we're going to agree to disagree here, okay?
You guys taste that? That's the tears of Tanner and BK after the 3-point play falls through.
I have no fears whatsoever. How you guys
lean
about
into
this?
Well, better now.
Not great at all.
After I said mine, I do feel a little bit more confident with mine. The only one that I don't feel confident in is my 1-point play, but honestly, I was going to throw something else in there that I didn't feel confident with.
I'm fascinated to know because I had 6 games that I was deciding between, and I think outside of the Oklahoma game, that was the only one that I separated from my picks. Basically, my 2 through 5, whatever else I had, were all in line that I nearly went.
I wanted the Buccaneers minus the points, but they don't have Chris Godwin, and I'm like, man, no Godwin, no Bucky Irving. I know they keep finding ways. And then I wanted the Cowboys.
Evans, Godwin playing, right?
No, Godwin's supposed to be out too. They said that you're expecting him to be missing it as well. So you're out Evans, Godwin, and Irving. Stressful. And then I also liked the Cowboys, but every time I seem to bet against the Panthers, they keep it close. So that's why I went away from those 2 and stuck with what I had.
I liked more of the college lines this week. I did not like most of the NFL spreads. I like USC this weekend against Michigan. North Texas is a squad. I know this is kind of going off the beaten path, similar to what I did last week against Virginia.
Hell of a game tonight.
That worked out well. I really like North Texas tonight. It's only a 1-point spread in favor of North Texas. I don't feel enough urgency to pick that over some of the other ones that I feel like I have more information on. But if you want a side tonight, I like North Texas a lot against USF. And I think Indiana plus 7.5 is a pretty solid one against Oregon as well. I think that game ends up being close. I do think Oregon will win, but 7.5 just feels like too many points to me. So I had 5 different college games that I really like this weekend.
That Indiana game, I had that as my 1-point play until we went to the commercial break, and then I finally just backed out of it and said, okay, I can't do this. Because I couldn't tell if it was me just going because I saw them in person and it was skewing my opinion. I think if you get that at 7.5 or 7, I would take it. If it gets down to 6.5, I would avoid it because I can see where Oregon wins by a touchdown. The other one I had, new coach / I guess old coach returns bump, Arkansas plus 11.5 at Tennessee.
Ooh, I like Tennessee
gives up
that one.
Tennessee gives up a ton of points, and Arkansas's offense at times can move the football, and that's why I think 11.5 is too high. So that was another one I had. And then the NFL, Browns plus 6.5 at Pittsburgh. I kind of like the Browns in that. That defense should stop Grandpa Rodgers, I think.
That's gone up a little bit. I got that at, I think, 4.5 or 5.
I saw 7 earlier today.
So I like the Steelers to win as that continues to rise. The Browns maybe are the side that I would like as it gets above 6.5. 6.5 or more, I would consider taking the Brown side of things. All right, alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. We've got Jordan Deacon back in the studio for us today. We are broadcasting live at the EMB Granite Studios out at the Centene Community Ice Center. And coming up next, we will continue talking about that Mizzou versus Alabama game. I want to break this down a little bit further with you guys and talk about the importance of this game, not only for this season, but for the program. There was one national voice that said it's the biggest game in program history. Is that overstating things here? We'll talk about that next year on 101 ESPN.
Tanner Hendrickson here to tell you about my friends at DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app, which is coming soon to the Show Me State. As new Missouri customers can download the DraftKings Sportsbook app today, and when we go live, place just a $5 bet to unlock $300 in bonus bets. Starting November 17th, you can create your DraftKings Sportsbook account in Missouri and get ready for launch day on December 1st. DraftKings Sportsbook brings everything to elevate your game day, so when you're watching college football or NFL action on the weekends, you can get live in-game betting, lightning-fast payouts, and endless ways to get in on the action, all right from your phone. And when DraftKings Sportsbook goes live in Missouri, you'll be betting with the Sportsbook app trusted by millions. Safe, secure, and has fast money withdrawals. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and grab $300 in bonus bets with just a $5 bet when we go live December 1st. In partnership with DraftKings Sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 plus. Physically present in Missouri. Eligibility restrictions apply. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. Excludes customers who redeem pre-launch sign-up offer. Terms at sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos.
101 ESPN Sports Center.
I'm Jordan Deacon. This SportsCenter update is brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. This weekend on 101 ESPN, we have NFL Sunday action for you. Ravens versus Rams pregame starts at 11 o'clock. Then Packers versus Bengals will follow, and we'll finish it off with Chiefs versus Lions kickoff at 7:20. You can hear all of that action right here on 101 ESPN on Sunday. I'm Jordan Deacon. The SportsCenter update was brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, a Daikin heating and air conditioning dealer.
This is BK and Ferrario on 101 ESPN, broadcasting live from the EMB Granite Studios at the Centene Community Ice Center, presented by Bud Light and Skimmers Original Vodka Iced Tea on 101 ESPN.
Everything in the drink era has led to this moment right here. They are undefeated. This is the biggest game. If you're an Alabama fan, this isn't the biggest game of the month. If you're a Missouri fan, this is the biggest game of your life.
So that was Brandon Walker on the Barstool Sports podcast the other day, previewing the Mizzou versus Alabama game. Now, I understand where he's coming from. If you're a national analyst on this Missouri team and you're kind of parachuting in, you probably haven't spent a whole lot of time thinking about Mizzou over the last 20 years. If we're just being real, right? Like, Mizzou was in the Big 12 previously. That doesn't get the same spotlight as the SEC or the Big 10. And at the time, for many of these analysts, they just weren't in the game of breaking down the ins and outs of the week of what was going on. This is not the biggest game in Mizzou program history. Just not. There's no way to claim otherwise. In 2007, they played Armageddon in Kansas City against Kansas, and the winner of that game was #1 in the country, going to play in the Big 12 championship game against Oklahoma for the right to potentially play in the national title game. That's a bigger game than what's taking place on Saturday. I don't know how you would argue otherwise. Hell, that game against Oklahoma was bigger than this game. In 2013, Mizzou versus Texas A&M to finish out the season. If you win, you go to the SEC championship game. Win and in. That's a bigger game than what's taking place on Saturday. The next week after that, they did go to the SEC championship, played against Auburn, and if they win that game, they're in the national championship. In what is a de facto semifinal, they lost the game, and so, like, it's not remembered as such for Missouri's football program. That was a bigger game than what is taking place on Saturday.
Didn't he get killed in that game?
It looks that way with the score. I think it was like a 7-point game midway through the third quarter. They just couldn't stop him. Trey Mason ran for like 300 yards against them. They played this 3-3-5 defense they had never played before. Don't get me started on that game. We could spend the next 45 minutes on it.
So what I'm hearing, this isn't the biggest game. Let's talk about Illinois and Ohio State.
That's not to diminish what this game means, though.
Indiana was your biggest game, and you laid an egg.
It is a huge game because of what college football has become.
Yeah.
This game says more about the landscape of college football than it does about Missouri. This game is big because of the playoff expanding. Like, let's be real. Do any of you guys believe that Missouri is a top 2 team in the country this year?
No.
I don't either. Do you believe that Missouri is a top 4 team in the country this year?
No.
Probably not. Do you guys think that Missouri
probably.
is a top 12 team?
Yes.
Probably.
I think they're a top 10.
And if they win
Not right
this
now,
game,
probably.
it feels as though they are definitely a top 12 team in the country. That's why this game is huge. That's why it means so much. So I'm not trying to dismiss how important this game is. I mentioned the other day, first time that Missouri has hosted a game in Columbia between 2 AP top 15 teams where they're ranked in the top 15 and the opponent is ranked in the top 15 in 40 years. It's a huge, huge, huge game. But I also don't want to dismiss what Missouri's football program has been over the last 15 to 20 years. They've had other big games. This group just hasn't. It's definitely the biggest game of the Eli Drinkwitz era.
That's what I was going to say. This is the biggest game of the Eli Drinkwitz era in Mizzou. And, like, as somebody texted in and said, asinine take, BK, because if Mizzou wins this week, they're going to have multiple bigger games than this one later this season. Yeah, but those games don't matter if you lose this game. Because they're big, but it's not to the point of you're a top 4 team in the SEC because you just took down Alabama. So when you look at Eli Drinkwitz's career, he's had big games and they've laid eggs. Absolutely. This is the biggest one. And if you can get over the hump, now there's no more questioning of like, yeah, but where does Drink really rank in terms of college football coaches? No, you're guaranteed where you're at because you know he's a great recruiter. You know he's a great schemer. And now you just put it into fruition against a legit contending team. So this, to me, is the biggest game of the Eli Drinkwitz era, and it's just a matter of what do you do with it.
That I will not push back one iota. It is easily the biggest game of the Drink era. And what it could mean for the program is massive, man. Like everybody that has their questions about Mizzou, I can go line by line, and maybe I could have my retort against them. Or some of them I would say, yeah, no, that's a fair critique of what Mizzou has been so far this year. None of that matters after this game on Saturday. You're able to shut out all of the doubters. This is the game where that's possible. Ahmad Hardy, Heisman campaign could start after this game on Saturday. If you truly believe that Missouri will win and that Hardy should be a Heisman candidate, get those bets in now, because tomorrow at 4:00, those odds are going to change significantly if Missouri wins and he has a good game. It's going to completely swing. He'll be top 10 probably in the Heisman odds after tomorrow's game if that happens. The other thing that's great about it, if they win this game on Saturday, every game thereafter becomes that much bigger, because each and every game consecutively is like, all right, now you got to go on the road at Auburn against a team that I think has a real shot to beat Georgia on Saturday. And if they do, that's going to be another top 25 matchup. And then you go on the road to Nashville and play against Diego Pavia, and a guy that can absolutely end your playoff hopes. And then you come back home against a potential top 5 team nationally against Texas A&M. All right, can you do it again against that defensive line? Oh, you did? Cool. Mississippi State. Oh, you did again? Cool. Now top 5 team in the country potentially with Oklahoma. That's what the SEC is this year. Every week just stacks on top of the success that you had the week prior.
Yeah, and if you win this, not only does it make every game bigger the rest of the way, also means you still get to hold on to your mulligan, because you get about one of those, maybe 2 in a college football season, but that's the most important part. That's why, like, when Illinois got demolished by Indiana, why did that sting so much? Because it meant they probably had to beat Ohio State, right? Like, they lose to Ohio State this weekend. It's hard to see their path to the college football playoff. If you can beat Alabama, it's now the biggest win of the Drinkwitz era. You've got legitimate momentum for everything that you want to do in an offseason on top of the rest of this season, and you're halfway. This is the halfway point of their season, game number 6 of 12. You've got momentum on your side, and you're feeling good about yourself as you get ready to go against. Now, at Auburn, I agree. They're no cupcake walk. You should be able to beat Auburn.
We'll talk about that next week. That's a tough game.
You should be able to beat Auburn.
You beat Alabama, you should beat Auburn.
Vandy
on
will
the
be
road
tough.
in the SEC, dude. Different animal. First road game in the SEC. We'll get to it, but that's
your playoff team. You beat them.
We're underselling it.
We'll get into it next week. But really, the 2 games I look on their schedule that I really look at and go, oh boy, is Oklahoma A&M.
Yeah.
And if you lose to Alabama, you tell me you got to beat one of those 2 to be a potential playoff team. Good luck.
You have to beat one of those 2, and you have to beat Auburn on the road, and you have to beat Vandy on the road. Like, your margin for error is effectively gone. And this is the other thing. You mentioned the Illinois game. Part of that, too, is your lack of quality wins. It's the huge loss. That's a massive blemish on their resume, because you didn't just lose. You got destroyed in that game. And B, for Illinois, you have a lack of quality wins that can be racked up on your schedule, because there are very few legit huge opponents that you're playing this season, kind of similar to Mizzou's schedule last year in that regard. For Mizzou this year, like, this is a premier opponent that nobody would question if it's a big win, because of the program's pedigree. If you beat Vandy on the road, there will at least be some that look at it, kind of tilt their head, and they're like, yeah, but it's still Vandy.
Yeah, and they'll
Bama's
probably fall.
Bama.
And Vandy will probably fall out of the top 25 if you beat them too, potentially.
Maybe, I think they'll still be in the top 25, but either way, it's still Alabama. That holds a different level of respect than if you beat Vanderbilt or if you beat Mississippi State. Bama just has that household pedigree, and that matters, man. So if you're able to get this kind of a win, I think it's a huge deal on Saturday. Do you guys think they get it done?
Yeah, I do. I think it's going to be tight, and I think there's going to be moments in the game where you're like, oh, God, they're going to lose this one. I think they get it done, though.
I don't. I think Alabama comes in and beats them. I just don't know that the Missouri secondary is going to do enough to help them out, and that's my biggest fear. And as much as we've talked about that D-line, and I've been more critical of it than BK has been, I don't think they get to them. I think they're forced to blitz more. They're forced to leave their corners one-on-one on the outside, and I think that's when Simpson picks them apart. Now, I don't think they get blown out. That would be great, though. But I don't think they get blown out. I think they keep it close, because I do think Hardy will have a big game. I just don't think they're going to get the stop that they need.
I think that my favorite bet in this game is the over. If you wanted, like I mentioned earlier today, I've got Mizzou as my 1-point play. I personally would love to bet the over at 51.5. I don't know how either of these teams are getting consistent stops. I think Ahmad Hardy's going to have a big day. I think Jamal Roberts could have a few big plays as well. And I think Alabama all day long is going to have open receivers. I do think that the defensive line gets home a couple of times, and I think that's ultimately what wins the game for Mizzou. But I think this is it's a race to 35. Whoever gets to 35 first, I think, ultimately wins the game. And I think that Missouri will be the team to do it. I think they end up winning this game, but I do think it is a shootout. I think it's going to be a pretty high-scoring game, and Missouri ends up coming out on top. Coming up in about 10 minutes, can the Blues avoid that early season snowball effect? We've seen this in previous seasons, and they weren't able to get out of it until at times it was too late. Can they avoid letting one loss lead to two, which leads to them starting the season like 3-7? We'll get into that coming up in about 10 minutes. The Junk Drawer is next year on 101 ESPN.
Live from the Centene Community Ice Center inside the ENB Granite Studios, you're tuned into BK and Ferrario on 101 ESPN. Presented by Bud Light and Skimmers Original Vodka Iced Tea on 101 ESPN. Let's open it up. The Junk Drawer with BK and Ferrario.
Alongside Alex and T-Bone on BK, it's BK and Ferrario here on 101 ESPN. Alex, have you ever heard like the old wives' tales on what can work to be able to get you back to full health? Some of those weird things that you can do. Well, a woman in China took this a step too far. She's 82 years old. She was hospitalized this week after swallowing 8 live frogs to help her ease her persistent lower back pain.
Someone's going to explain to me why that eases your lower back pain.
She was following folklore, which says that eating live frogs could help treat the aches that she was experiencing from a herniated disc, according to the local media reports.
Or, hear me out here, you know what helps a herniated disc? Going to see a doctor and them, fixing it for you with surgery.
She had 3 frogs right away. She ate the remaining 5 frogs the following day. She actually went out and caught all of these frogs. All smaller than the palm of her hand, but she ate them live.
How many diseases are on those things that you're just putting into your body?
That's why she's hospitalized.
The sharp pain actually has increased now to the point where she can no longer walk.
Did she hope that the frogs she ate were going to be like little elves and like go in and like put her disc back in place and she's going to be healthy?
If she did, it backfired because the frogs have damaged the patient's digestive system, and they have now resulted in some parasites actually being present in her body, including some that are highly, highly problematic for her livelihood.
Whoever put that wives' tale together was like, let's see if some idiot tries this. And some idiot did try this.
We're wishing for a full recovery for her.
I've never even heard of that wise tale.
No.
It might be something in like Chinese lore, though,
Yeah, maybe.
Like some people have different cultural wives' tales than what we do. But like I
couldn't even
I just don't know how your common sense wouldn't fathom be like, these are filthy because they're in filthy water. I am putting that in my mouth. That's a terrible idea.
The texture of a frog, right? Like I've had, we've all held a frog in our hand before, right? I can't imagine putting that.
Have you ever held a frog in your hand?
Yeah.
Why do you look at me like that?
I haven't. I haven't. Why would I want? Why do I need that in my hand?
Why not? You're a little kid. There's a frog. You know.
You know what I did to him? I like scooted them away so they wouldn't come near me.
You pick them up.
I'll tell you what's funny is
you really wash your hands clean, but
you don't want warts.
Yeah.
What do you think T-Bone's life was like growing up in Old?
He rhinoed the toad. He held it. Mom, watch.
Somebody said, "What news algorithm do you subscribe to? What the bleep?" Sometimes I just find these stories. I think they're entertaining, and so I bring them on the air.
I just that's just insane. We all watched Fear. This isn't like the T-Bone. We all held toads, right, when we were growing up. We all watched Fear Factor, right? Like the Joe Rogan one. You never watched it?
That was around for T-Bone.
Oh my God! That was appointment television for me. And watching the people do this type of stuff where you have to eat cockroaches and stuff like that.
I didn't watch. I was outside playing with the frogs.
Apparently you were outside picking them up and trying to eat them rather than coming inside and playing with them.
314-399-9646.
Punishment idea.
Service text line. From the 636. Guys, this is still not as gross as the chicken smoothie that you talked about yesterday.
I agree. That was worse.
Someone said, you think Alex acted like a normal kid playing outside?
No chance.
I did. I just, I played sports with friends and was athletic, not going around picking up frogs and holding them.
In 15 minutes, we get to our NFL weekend look ahead. But coming up next, can the Blues avoid something that they've had issues with in recent years, that early snowball effect in the season? We'll talk about it next year on 101 ESPN.
Alex Ferrario back with you to talk about my friends out at Ted Drew's, that famous frozen custard that has been around since 1929. It's a Friday, which means I'm going to be headed out there with my girls tonight. We've already got our dinner planned. We're going to go get some Ted Drew's, maybe some fall-themed flavored, maybe get the great pumpkin that they have right now, which is a slice of pumpkin pie mixed in Ted's original vanilla custard, topped with whipped cream. Then we're going to come home and have a movie night. This is what I love about Ted Drew's. It's open for you year-round up until the winter season when they put those Christmas trees out, but you get to build those traditions. You see it all the time when you drive past it on Chippewa. People parked in there, or sitting in the parking lot in the trunks of their car, eating that famous frozen custard. That's what they were built on. 4 generations, family-run business, built on quality and service. So get on out there and start those traditions with your friends, with your family, and check out that consistency and tradition that Ted Drew's has always had. While you're out there, too, make sure you check out their gift shop and historical museum right across the parking lot next to Ted Drew's on Chippewa, and you can go through all of Ted Drew's history. You can also purchase stylish apparel, some souvenirs, maybe those gift cards, which make life easier during the holiday season. Ted Drew's famous frozen custard off of Chippewa, unmatched quality, unforgettable taste.
BK and Ferrario are broadcasting live from the E&B Granite Studios at the Centene Community Ice Center, presented by Bud Light and Skimmer's Original Vodka Iced Tea on 101 ESPN.
Alex, I don't know how many times we've brought up in the offseason, Blues got to get off to a good start. Man, it's important for them to get off to a good start this year. You look back last year, part of what made the season so frustrating is that they got off to that 8-11-1 start to the season, and it was just hard to overcome that. They missed out on so many points early on. They had to make it all up. Now, eventually they did with a historically great finish to the season, but it was hard to believe that they were going to be able to do that. You look back 2 years ago, they also got up to a bit of a rough start. And in that season, they started the year 13, 14-1. Again, just too much for them to be able to overcome. A few years, or the year before that, 3-8. We kind of knew at that point in time. That's when Army came out. He had that press conference where we were like, man, it feels a little early to be doing this, right, Army? And then he was 100% correct, and they ultimately fell on their faces once again. You want to avoid that early in the season. And the Blues can still avoid that. It's just one game right now. But, Alex, earlier today, Jim Montgomery was asked about what that means and what the mindset is going into game number 2. Here's what he had to say.
Any team that wants to be really good in this league, losing 2 in a row isn't something you accept or even tolerate. So the start of tomorrow's game is going to be really important to see where we're at in that process.
I love that mindset, and I hope the players have the same mindset. So there haven't been a lot of teams that have done it yet because we're fresh into the season, which, by the way, NHL, you have 0 games tonight after everybody played the last couple of days. What the hell are we doing?
On? What are we worried about? North Texas?
Yeah, apparently.
Where are they playing?
That's
South Florida.
There's your answer right there. There are a total of 8 teams that have played 2 games so far this season. And do you know how many of those teams have lost both games to start the season?
None.
1. Guess which one? The Chicago Blackhawks.
Yeah.
Are they expected to be a great team this year? No. But even the Blackhawks got to overtime and they lost. So I think he's spot on with this. And I went back and looked at this last year when Jim Montgomery took over. They played 59 games under Jim Montgomery. They had 5 separate losing streaks of 2 or more games, which is somewhat impressive if you're talking about 59 games and only going into a couple of different losing streaks. And I think there were only 3 that were more than 2 games. So he's right. Joey says it all the time. You can't make the playoffs by Thanksgiving, but you sure as heck can lose the playoffs by Thanksgiving. So you can't afford to come out of this and be 0-2 to start the year, or even 0-2-1, especially in the first 7 games when you play all Western Conference teams and 5 of those 7 are Central Division opponents. You have to come out with a little bit more of a pissed off attitude, because if not, you're setting the trend and the mindset of, oh, well, we'll figure this out. You don't want to be what the Cardinals were for the longest time of, we'll go on a streak in the second half and we'll get in. Man, get the points early, because with the Olympics, you can't rely on to get those points and go on a streak at the end.
The other thing is just like, man, it's a mindset thing. It's a setting the tone thing. And you don't want that doubt to creep into the back of your mind of, was last year a fluke? Was last year just this stretch where we played unbelievable hockey and we're not going to be able to recapture that? I don't think any of us on this show believe that to be the case. But if this team ends up losing tomorrow and then they start the season, 3-6, and they don't look good out of the gates, you do start to have some of those, if you want to use the words that we used yesterday, those intrusive thoughts that come into your mind of, what's going on here? Is this going to be worse than we expected it to? And how does it get fixed? So it was really frustrating to see that on home ice because of what Alex said earlier today with them being so great. What was it, 15 straight?
They hadn't lost a game since February 13th at home.
Yeah, and to come out with a stinker like that, you didn't just get beat. You just a no-show, complete no-show.
And to never be shut out and franchise, that was the other part of it too. Like, just to completely just be gone in the third period when, like, you're not going to make a comeback, but it's 4-0. Like, at least make it interesting for a fan base. That's going back to your intrusive thoughts. If there's one for me, we talked about this last year, how mentally soft at times the team was, that when a game would be out of reach, and we're talking like 2 goals out of reach, which is not really out of reach in the NHL, that 2-goal deficit would be a 3-goal deficit, then a 4-goal deficit. And the 2 goals that were scored last night from Minnesota, the 5 goals that were scored from Minnesota last night, came moments after the Blues had a grade A scoring chance. And that's the fragility that you just don't want to have. If you're going to set a tone that you're a tough team to play against, you can't have those fragile moments on the ice.
And as much as we talk about it, it's early, it's the very beginning of the season. With how tight we expect this playoff race to be in the Western Conference this year, and I'm not just talking about in the division, but I mean, we saw this last year, Alex. It came down to the very end of the season, a tiebreaker for the Blues to get in over Calgary. These games really matter.
Yeah.
These head-to-head, whether it's for tie-breaking reasons or just the 4-point swing that could potentially exist here, these games are super important. We'll get back to the end of the end of the season, and we'll look back on some of these games, especially against Minnesota, Calgary, Vancouver, later on against LA later this month. These games are going to be meaningful, and you've got to be able to take advantage of some of them. So Blues back in action tomorrow afternoon. Should be right around the end of the Mizzou game, so kind of a nice way to just be able to go from Mizzou versus Alabama to in Illinois versus Ohio State, straight over to this Blues game versus the Calgary Flames. Alex will have pregame coverage tomorrow starting at 2 o'clock. Puck drop right here on your home of the Blues tomorrow at 3. Coming up in 15 minutes, we'll play a game of One's Gotta Go. You give us 4 different options. We'll tell you which one's got to go here on BK and Ferrario. But next, it's time for our NFL weekend look ahead. We'll do that next here on 101 ESPN.
Broadcasting live from the Centene Community Ice Center inside the ENB Granite Studios. This is BK and Ferrario on 101 ESPN. Presented by Bud Light and Skimmers Original Vodka Iced Tea on 101 ESPN.
All right, let's dive into our NFL weekend look ahead. I'm going to be honest with you, Alex. Not a great slate. Not a great slate going into this weekend. That being said, we've had a couple of these. Last weekend wasn't a great slate either, and it ended up providing us with a number of really compelling games. So maybe we'll get something similar here. Let's start out with the place that we always do. Game of the week. Alex, I'll start out with you.
I mean, I guess I'll go chalk with this one before you guys do, that it's the Lions and Chiefs. Mm-hmm. I mean, to me, it's the one that everybody's going to be paying most attention to. I think there's a couple of others, but I am too. I mean, I know there's been plenty of doubts with the Lions, and their defense is always going to be a doubt for me. But, man, they might be the best offense right now in the National Football League with both Gibbs and Montgomery, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Like, Jameson Williams hasn't even done anything this season, and he's still capable of those highlight reel plays. So, mine is the chalk answer. I really am excited for Lions and Chiefs.
Yeah, to go different from it, because I think it is by far the best game of the Sunday slate. 49ers-Bucks still has some intrigue, even though the Bucks are dealing with a bunch of injuries, just like the 49ers.
I hate the 49ers, though.
I do too, but, man, I said this when we talked about it, I guess it was, Friday of last week when they beat the Rams on Thursday night. dude, Kyle Shanahan is still one of the best coaches in the NFL. And he's proven that by what he's been able to get out of Mac Jones in that beat-up roster. And on top of that, Baker Mayfield's playing at an MVP level. I expect that's still going to continue, even though he's like missing all of his weapons. I think that game's going to be, I don't know if it'll be a shootout, but it is definitely still going to be an intriguing football game.
So I'm going to go to a game that we mentioned earlier today. Alex, I think they were part of your picks, and that's the Seahawks going on the road to take on the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jaguars with a huge win on Monday night against the Kansas City Chiefs in what was an incredibly sloppy football game. But that's what the Jaguars do. They bring you into their slop fests, and they it's almost as if the other teams become infected by the Jacksonville Jaguars disease, where suddenly there's a ton of penalties, there's turnovers left and right. It was the first time the Jaguars did not have at least 3 takeaways in a game this season, and one of their takeaways this time around became a 99-yard pick six. So I'm really curious to see what this looks like for Seattle. I like DVOA as a metric that I look at. It's a nerdy number where
pass block win rate.
Anytime you have to abbreviate a stat, it's a nerd
it
number.
Adjusts for the opponents that you're going up against and then says, all right, this is on a play-by-play basis how good you are as a team. It's kind of similar to SP Plus, one of the metrics that I like to use for college football. In that metric, Detroit has been the number 1 team in the NFL this year. I think that makes sense to all of us. As you said, Alex, one of the best teams in the league this year. Number 2 in the league, according to DVOA, is the Seattle Seahawks so far in 2025. They have been amazing defensively, and I want to see what that looks like on the road, traveling west to east, noon kickoff. T-Bone's mentioned this a number of times on how important that is.
I forgot to mention that. Why I put
going up
Jags
against the Jaguars. So I'm really curious to see what Seattle looks like in this spot and to see if Jacksonville can go in back-to-back weeks beating the Chiefs and the Seahawks. So that would be my number 1 game of the week. Alex, for you, your upset of the week going into this upcoming week.
I'm going overseas, boys. Jets are beating the Broncos. I will hate the Broncos all season. I don't trust Bo Nix in that offense. I think the Jets can keep that competitive, and I think the Jets have the playmakers on defense to make Broncos offense a living hell. I like the under in that game. Significantly, but I think the Jets can beat that. It's like a 7.5 point spread, or it was a 7.5 point spread. I think the Jets beat them straight up.
I thought about that one, but going to London, I'm like, man, anything can happen.
Also part of the reason why I liked it too.
Part of the thought process, and I just don't trust the Jets. So I'm going to go with the unit I trust. That's why I called on the Giants to beat the Eagles on Thursday night. I think the Browns will take down the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's why I had it in consideration for my play. That defense is going to get into the face of Aaron Rodgers, and he can't move. He's not going to be able to get away from him. It's going to be low scoring because it is the Browns that are playing football. I think they win this one, though. I think it's like a 14-10 win for Cleveland against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Let's see if I can make this 3 weeks in a row that I nail my upset pick.
I think this team has quietly been more competitive than people are giving them credit for. Defense has been solid. Offense is showing some signs with Spencer Rattler as their quarterback. I think the Saints can pull off an upset against the New England Patriots. Patriots coming off of a huge emotional high on Sunday against the Buffalo Bills. Can they put this together to where they win 3 in a row? I'm not sure that that's the caliber of team that the Patriots are right now. So I'm going to take the Saints, who are an underdog this weekend at home by 3.5 points, to win straight up against the New England Patriots. Alex, your matchup of the week, whether that's just overall a game that you find fascinating or a defense versus an offensive unit, maybe it's an individual matchup, player versus player. What is the matchup that you're most curious about, you're most intrigued by heading into this weekend?
I don't know how much intrigue other people have, but I really want to see Flacco in the Bengals offense. And it's against the Packers, which is just not going to be fun. Micah Parsons is just going to breathe down Flacco's neck all game long. But the one thing about Joe Flacco is, man, that guy can put the ball in the air. And if you got Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, which I think I saw Chase was sick, and they're like, oh, he might not play. Gamesmanship, I get it. But I think Flacco and that offense are intriguing to me. Now, again, the Packers might make this done in the first quarter. But, man, I don't think the Bengals can get in, but if Flacco's got any more juice in him with that offense and receivers core, at least it could be interesting in the AFC.
Yeah, I like that one because I am a little intrigued as well because it is the thing that can potentially save their season. But I'm going to what we said was the game of the week. And mine is, what does that Chiefs – I'm more interested by what their offense does against this Lions defense. Because everything that we talk about the Lions, we always talk about them as, boy, look at this offense. Aren't they fun? Man, could they be a contender? And then you watch them play defense against not even some of the best teams, but some of the mediocre teams.
Mm-hmm.
You go, man, okay, they won, but they gave up like 30 in that game. Is that going to continue to be the case for the Lions? Because it's the one thing that holds me from saying they are the best team in the NFC. It's their defense. I don't trust their defense. And Mahomes is still missing Rice. His weapons are getting better around him, though, and they are clearly evolving and figuring things out offensively. If this is a shootout, I still like the Lions. That's why I took him in the pick 'em. But if they're going to be contenders, they have got to figure out a way to get some stops defensively.
So I'm going to go with the Steelers again, their offense against the Browns defense. And the reason why is because, man, I know the Steelers are 3-1. I don't believe in this at all, though. I don't know if this is something that's going to be sustainable, and yet it's the Steelers, so they'll probably go 10-7, 9-8. They'll make it to the playoffs. They'll lose by 20, and we'll say, "Oh wow, what a Steelers-esque year." But the Browns' defense has been awesome all year long. I don't think they have enough offensively to be able to get over the hump. I think that the Steelers will win this game. I do think they will cover the spread here, but that Cleveland defense going up against the Steelers offense, I'm really curious to see what it looks like. Do the Steelers have a way to get to, 23, 24 points against them? If they do, I think they'll win, and I think they'll probably cover. But if not, it could be one of those games that gets played into the mud, and the Browns win like 13-10.
Can I give you like what's the ugly matchup of the week that could be like really fun to watch? And if you have them in your fantasy
Slop
team,
fest game of the week.
Oh no, it ain't a slop fest. It's going to be oh my gosh, did that really just happen? How high can the Rams offense go against the Baltimore Ravens defense?
Oh, yeah.
Like, whoo, boy, I would be loading up on that Rams offense if you're playing fantasy football this weekend.
That seems like the easy survivor pick, but everything inside of me is like, don't pick the Rams, because at some point the Ravens are going to
West, East?
Derrick Henry's going to go 200 plus with 3 touchdowns, and then it's like, oh, that just burned you.
You don't need to worry about the Ravens.
They're giving up 35.4 points per game.
Their defense is horrible, and
so what you're saying is I should go Rams for the survivor. Yeah. That's the smartest play to do this week.
I think I would go Rams this week, but I also picked the Bills last week against the Patriots. So
dude, every one of my picks, and I'm not going to take Tanner's advice because he didn't put a pick in, but every one of my picks.
I would have gotten it right if I did, though.
Every one of my picks I have questions on. The Colts over the Cardinals, Packers over the Bengals, Rams over the Ravens.
So the thing with the Rams, like the only time that you're really going to be utilizing them, because here's their upcoming schedule. So if you're a survivor pool pick that you're looking for who you go with this weekend, here's the upcoming schedule for the Rams. They've got the Jaguars next week, and that is in London, I believe. So you're probably not picking them there. Then the bye week, can't pick them there. Then they've got the Saints at home. You absolutely could use them in that game. But after that, at the 49ers, wouldn't do that. Home against the Seahawks, nope. Home against Tampa Bay, And then finally, week 13 on the road against Carolina. But at that point in time, you're talking 6-7 weeks down the road. So you're either using them here or you're saving them for week 9. Personally, for me, I would just go ahead and get them out of the way. The one other team that I would consider this week.
Submit it. I see you typing.
No. What I was going to do is I was looking at the Packers schedule, because I did the same thing with the Packers, and like the Packers have a schedule that you'd feel comfortable with. They play the Cardinals and the Steelers the next 2 weeks, but they're on the road for both of them.
Yeah.
And I don't like picking road teams, which is also part of the reason why the Rams scared me.
Yeah, I get it. It makes sense, but
because I got the Packers against the Panthers at home in 3 weeks, but am I going to be there in 3 weeks? That's the question I'm asking.
Yeah, that's the tough part about survivors. You've got to go through and make some of these tough choices. All right, I know this is the NFL weekend look ahead. Can we go through some of these college games real quick?
Yes.
Because it's a great week in college
football. It is so much better than the NFL slate.
Okay. We're going to get into one's got to go on the other side. 314-399-9646. That's the Air Comfort Service text line. You give us 4 options. We'll tell you which one's got to go. We already previewed Mizzou versus Alabama. We'll get into that a little bit more coming up in the rewind. But we have not spent much time today on Illinois versus Ohio State.
Do we need to?
Illinois is a 14.5-point underdog at home against Ohio State. T-Bone, for Illinois to win this game, what has to happen?
I think they're going to have to win it in a shootout. I don't think they're going to be able to stop Ohio State, get enough stops, same as like I've talked about with Mizzou. I think they're going to get picked apart in the secondary. It comes down to, do they slow the run down enough? Well, also, does the offense, are they willing to let Altmaier determine this from the first quarter? Because some of my complaints with Brett Bielema this season, especially in that Indiana game, it was, hey, we got to establish the run. We got to establish the run. We got to keep handing the freaking football to Fagan. No, you need to throw the football. You are not going to run against this Ohio State team. You have got to win this game based on Luke Altmaier's performance. He is going to have a huge game for them to beat Ohio State. I don't expect it to happen, but that's what has to occur. They need to win this thing like 35-30, and Altmaier's got to be awesome.
Do you think that they can cover?
I don't think so, but then, like, the more I read up, like, the advanced numbers, like Bill Conley, I love his work. I mean, his SP Plus says they can. So I lean towards no. I think they're going to get picked apart. I don't think they're going to have answers. The only reason I didn't take this in the pick was because I didn't want to root against Illinois.
I just don't know how they score. I think that they're too one-dimensional, and Ohio State's defense is great in the area that Illinois is good at. I think Illinois ends up struggling to keep Altmaier upright. And defensively, I don't think they can stop Ohio State with consistency. I think they'll get a few stops, don't get me wrong, but something like 27-10, I think is very much in play for a game like this. The other big game in the Big Ten this weekend is Indiana on the road at Oregon. Indiana, of course, the huge win against Illinois, but they backed it up last week with a very close, a very tight victory on the road at Iowa. Their coach came out all week, Kurt Cignetti, and said, this is a bigger test than what we had against Illinois. He ended up being proven very much correct in that regard. Tough road test for them. Now they get to follow that up a couple of weeks later with a road game at Oregon, coming off of the bye. Meanwhile, with Oregon, we know they've had some interesting games over the last couple of weeks as well. T-Bone, for you, who do you like in this game?
As I heard a lot in Bloomington, Indiana. Hoosiers! I like Indiana in this game over the Oregon
Wow,
Ducks.
I don't like that.
They do everything well. They run the ball. Mendoza is a NFL potential quarterback, and their defense is awesome up front, and they are great in the secondary as well. And also, I just watched Oregon struggle against Penn State, who I'm not sure is actually good since we just watched them lose to UCLA. So I think Indiana goes on the road, and I think they get a signature win, and they take down the Oregon Ducks.
I think Oregon wins in a close one.
I do too.
I think it's a really close game, and I wonder if we end up seeing this be a little lower scoring than some are anticipating going in. 27, 23, something like that. I would take Indiana plus the points. But winning outright, that is where I have my question marks. Alex, what do you like in this one?
I like Oregon. I think overall the quarterback play has been better on Oregon's side this year, and Oregon seems like the team that wins those big games compared to Cignetti with Indiana. And I do believe they're the second best team in college football, and I don't think you fall to Indiana.
All right, other big game at 2:30 this week is Oklahoma and the Red River rivalry. Stop it. It's the Red River shootout. Oklahoma versus Texas. 1 point line right now. Well, it was the Red River shootout. Then they said that's not politically correct. Yeah. I feel like at this point in 202025, we don't care about that. But anyways,
dude, you just come on, man.
River, all right, the next rivalry game. Or shootout, depending on your preference.
Now he backtracks.
Oklahoma 1 point line in this neutral site game. I said this earlier. It's one of my biggest picks of the week. I love Oklahoma. I think they have the better defensive line. They're going to be able to get after Arch Manning. We've seen his issues. Those are on full display at this point in time. John Mateer expected back for this game as well. I don't know how Texas gets consistent stops. I think Oklahoma wins this game potentially by as many as 2 scores in the Red River rivalry / shootout.
I think Oklahoma wins. I'm just praying that it's tighter football game than you're giving them credit, so you lose. Both of you lose.
I can't wait. It's only a 1 point line.
Yeah, I know, but we was like, "Ooh, this line should be 7 points."
Yeah, that's true. Oh, I'm with you though. Boomer.
Other games that we like here
sooner
that are worthy of at least discussing briefly. Losers. Florida on the road at Texas A&M. Texas A&M only a 7.5 point favorite in this game. I don't know how anybody scores. Both of these defenses are great. Texas A&M's defense has been fantastic so far this year. They have had their struggles offensively, though. Any cause for concern here? Do you guys think that Texas A&M ends up coming out victorious in this one?
I think Texas A&M's the better team in this one, regardless of how good their defenses play. So, yeah, A&M's the winner in this one.
I think they cover 7.5. Okay. I'm not actually worried about A&M this time around.
I think this has the potential to be a pretty big letdown spot for Florida. I would take Texas A&M minus the points as well. The game that I am fascinated by tomorrow night, Georgia at Auburn. T-Bone, this is a game that we kind of briefly made reference to earlier today. I think Auburn wins this one outright. At home, I think Auburn is getting slept on because it's Auburn. They had a couple of close losses on the road at Oklahoma and on the road at Texas A&M. Dude, those teams are legit playoff contenders, and they lost both of them by 1 score. I think Auburn's defense is awesome this year. Their offense has its limitations, and who could have seen this coming? Jackson Arnold, not great. But I don't know how Georgia scores in this one. So I think Auburn ends up pulling this one off. Georgia and Auburn both 4-2 coming out of this week. Auburn with the tiebreaker.
I like Georgia.
I do too.
I just don't trust the offense to do enough for Auburn, and that's why I go. I agree with you. Auburn's defense is good. I think this is like a 24-13 win for the Bulldogs.
Yeah, I think Georgia gets it. I think they're the better team in the SEC. I do agree that it's going to be tight because of Auburn's play as of late.
Michigan, USC, you guys have a lean? I like USC in that one.
I like Michigan because USC struggles to stop the run. I think they're going to get ran out the door by Michigan.
I have no line on this one, so sure.
South Carolina, LSU. Any lean directionally there?
LSU.
They're 9.5-point favorite.
Yeah, I don't know that they'll cover, but I like LSU.
Yeah, I think we're all on the same page there. All right, coming up next, 314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line. You give us 4 different options. We'll tell you which one's got to go here on BK and Ferrario.
101 ESPN Sports Center.
I'm Jordan Deacon. This Sports Center update is driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. Last night, the Blues lost their home opener to the Minnesota Wild by a score of 5-0. The guys talked things over with Mike McKenna earlier today. If you missed that interview or anything else from today's show, be sure to check out the podcast page at 101ESPN.com or from your free 101 mobile app. That podcast is brought to you by the Schaefer Door Company. I'm Jordan Deacon. This Sports Center update was driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. See them at londoff.com. Chevy, together we drive. Are you kidding me?
This is BK and Ferrario on 101 ESPN. Broadcasting live from the E&B Granite Studios at the Centene Community Ice Center. Presented by Bud Light and Skimmer's Original Vodka Iced Tea on 101 ESPN. This is BK and Ferrario. Time now for One's Gotta Go. We offer up the talking points, and you get to pick which one's gotta go on 101 ESPN.
Count that big pen.
All right, 314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line for One's Gotta Go. You give us 4 different options. We will tell you which one's gotta go here on BK and Ferrario. Alex, one's gotta go. St. Louis Potluck at Work edition. Emos.
None.
T-Ravs. Barbecue pork steaks or gooey butter cake.
Oh, pork steaks at work. There's no way I'm doing pork steaks at work. Are you kidding me?
You're not eating them?
No.
Why not?
What am I going to eat it with the plastic utensils that they're going to provide?
Sure.
Yeah, you've ever tried to cut a steak with a fork and a knife that's plastic?
Those aren't that hard, though, the pork steaks. Not compared to a real steak.
I mean, if they're not cooked properly, they're not the easiest thing to cut through. Plus,
sure,
let's be honest. Do you really want to eat a pork steak at work?
It's a fair question.
Yeah, I agree with
the
that.
Pizza and toasted ravioli are easier to eat.
Yeah,
gooey
same
butter
with gooey
cake,
butter
obviously.
I mean, I'm not a fan of gooey butter cake, but yeah, I would lean towards the
Finger
pork
foods.
steak.
That's
I'm
your
not big
problem.
on pork steaks.
I would go emos. I mean, come on, man. The smell is just not something that I could handle. All right,
What's wrong
one's
with
got to
you?
go
The
from
smell
the
of you I can't
314
handle.
breakfast edition. Bagels, croissant, biscuits, or muffins. I
No
had an
dulce de
almond-
leche?
Nope. I had an almond
Good.
and chocolate croissant today from Sucrose out in St. Charles. Oh,
That sounds good.
it was
Ladies and
so
gentlemen on YouTube, I'll leave you to take care of that one with BK.
bagels, croissant, biscuit, or muffin. Which one's got to go, Alex?
Biscuit. I hate biscuits.
Really? Not a biscuit guy.
I've never liked
What
biscuits.
about biscuits and gravy?
Oh,
No.
that's like
No?
my
That's too
favorite
much for me.
breakfast.
I feel like
Oh.
T-bone would be a biscuit with jelly.
Oh no, I hate jelly.
No, okay.
hate jelly.
Jam?
No, out.
You know the difference between jelly and jam
Yes,
is?
we know.
okay.
Don't say that on air. T-bone.
We'll bring it to you guys later.
That's BK and Ferrario After Dark. Stop
Google it.
The one that I would get rid of, I've already forgotten which. Oh, muffin. Muffin's just not.
Do you
They're
think,
good.
Do you think T-Bone
I
knows the
don't need
difference
No,
between jelly and jam?
Alex,
I'll tell you after the break.
I'm going to go with biscuits as well. Biscuits are fine. The flakiness kind of
Biscuits and gravy is too much for me,
it's
and I'm not
perfect.
going to do a biscuit by itself.
One's got to
So
go.
shop, it was
Home
breakfast.
appliances edition. An air fryer, a microwave, a refrigerator, or a stove. I would say the air fryer. It's the one that I would use the least
Oh
often.
man, mine would be the microwave.
What?
Yeah.
Do you not have?
I don't need the microwave if I've got the air fryer, because everything I'm going to microwave, it's like I'll cook in the air fryer to make it crispier, and everything that I would microwave to like warm it up, I'll cook on the stove.
It's also definitely healthier for you. Better for you.
That I agree with.
Yeah.
That soy boy stuff I'm all aboard
Yeah,
with.
I would get rid of the air fryer too. I would use the least of those, and I would want the microwave for like leftovers. The other thing too is like you got to buy the right size one. I bought a small one. It's like when I go to air fry stuff, I need to do it in like 5 batches because it doesn't
Man,
hold a lot. You know.
Your leftovers need to be cooked in the stove or cooked in the air fryer. They're going to be better, man.
I so badly wanted to call him Maha Alex, but I decided against it. One's got to go. BK's monthly
What's that
trips to Disney, New England.
I'll tell you at the break.
I'll Google it.
To the Boot Barn Factory or to the KC Renaissance Fair. I'm not.
I wasn't listening. The Renaissance Fair would be mine. I'm glad if that's something people are into. Great. I don't mesh with that.
Yeah, I
So
don't think,
Renaissance Fair would
I
be
don't
out
think
for me.
chainmail goes in my alley of what I look good in. So I would get rid of the Renaissance
Nothing they
thing as
wear
well.
I look good in.
I'm not into that either. All right, 314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line. But one's got to go BK's Unbearable Fandom Edition. Mizzou football, the Chiefs, Mizzou basketball, or the Cardinals every time they win one series.
Cardinals every time. Not even a series, a freaking game. We're talking about the advanced analytics and the woe bacon of how they're going to be a World Series contender. I guarantee you the first win of the regular season next year, BK is going to try and convince us all that the Cardinals will be a playoff
The
team.
rebuild is over.
Yeah, so Cardinals.
See, for me, it's not. I like the Cardinals, so when they're good, I have no issues with it. I can't stand Mizzou, but I know they're never winning anything meaningful. It's the Chiefs. I can't stand it when they're in the Super Bowl all the time. When they're bad, I'm just like, they're not going to be a playoff team because, like, relax. It's going to be fine. And then he's right.
Like after they lose to Trevor Lawrence and the Jaguars, he's like, oh, they're fixed.
It's the Chiefs. I wish I didn't know them when they were this good.
I loved the Cardinals before I worked with BK, and now I just like the Cardinals.
I'm not sure that that's true.
From the 314, one's got to go St. Louis Weather Edition.
Then.
The winters, the summers, the fall, or the spring.
Summer's got to go. Summer's got to go. It's too freaking hot out.
Yeah.
I hate the fact that when I want to go out with the girls and play with them, I can't be outside for more than like an hour because all of them are overheated. So I would take this weather, spring weather. I don't mind the winter, but I'm in a hockey rink all the time. So it's like, it's not as cold outside as it is inside.
It's not a bad winter here. You get like that.
This was Minnesota.
Yeah, you get that one big snow. Like in Chicago, every time I talk to my uncle who lives up there, he's like, yeah, it's like 5 degrees. I'm like, man, that's cold. He's like, cold's cold.
Oh,
like, you just get used to it.
The Winter Classic was awful.
Yeah, the summer here is brutal. I mean, it's 110 and it's like 80%
You're
humidity.
either
it's like,
outside in the water or you're not outside.
or you're outside and you feel like you're in water because of the humidity.
I'm with you guys. The humidity is what does it for me. Carol obviously loves Orlando/Disney World, and she's talked in the past about like, hey, if things were different, like, would you live there? No chance in hell I would be able to live in Orlando, Florida. The humidity alone is just too much for me. All right, last one here. One's got to go soda edition. Mountain Dew, Dr. Pepper, Coke, or Sprite?
No. Ooh, you threw Sprite in. Sprite, any type of white soda I have to get rid of. Long story short, I mixed it with colonoscopy medicine because they told me it tastes better. It ruined Sierra Mist for me. And now anytime I drink Sprite or Sierra Mist, I taste colonoscopy medicine.
This is not going to surprise any of our listeners. I don't drink soda. I don't like it.
What do you call that then?
Water. I'll go Mountain Dew, I guess.
Yeah. Oh, I love Mountain Dew.
Mountain Dew's the one for me. I'm just not a big Mountain Dew guy.
I'm a Code Red Mountain Dew. Any of the other Mountain Dews are nasty.
I've done a better job of cutting soda out. I just drink coffee now as my kind of pick-me-up.
And still don't drink water.
Yeah, no, the water thing, like I'm out on that. Dr. Pepper's my favorite.
And beer, and that's it.
Yeah.
And liquor.
It's got water in it. It gets you the proper order.
And probably juice. I think he's got a box of Capri Suns in his
juice. If you had to drink a juice, what would it be? I'm going Prune.
Oh, disgusting.
God, what do you want to do? Poop your entire life?
No, I will never. I don't ever drink that again because they gave me that when I was in the hospital after surgery one time. Oh, no way. Apple juice is my go-to.
Yep, there's the 5-year-old in you.
Oh yeah, apple
milk. You're probably a milk guy.
Oh, chocolate milk. 2%. Yeah. Oh, you get me that. What is it?
Nesquik.
T-Bone's drinking a whole milk. Just
you give me that Nesquik.
Just straight from the udder. T-Bone's like, I love me some cow milk.
Coming up next, we'll hit the rewind here on 101 ESPN.
Live from the Centene Community Ice Center inside the ENB Granite Studios, you're tuned into BK and Ferrario on 101 ESPN. Presented by Bud Light and Skimmers Original Vodka Iced Tea on 101 ESPN. Let's run it back with a daily rewind on BK and Ferrario. Brought to you by Gloria Lou, your home sold guaranteed realty. Selling your home begins at GloriaHasTheBuyers.com.
If you missed anything from today's show, be sure to check it out on the podcast page. 101ESPN.com and the free 101 ESPN app is where you go to find it. It is all sponsored by
Schaefer Door Company.
That 101 ESPN app, free to use, easy to download, and it is sponsored by Dobbs Tire and Auto Centers. We've got a big loaded sports weekend here in St. Louis for you. Tomorrow night is Cubs versus Brewers. It's going to be great to be able to watch the Brewers go home. Game number 5 between the Cubs and the Brew Crew. And I can't wait for Monday morning. We will lead with it. The Brewers going home against
Mizzou wins, but Milwaukee's out.
Cubs.
We are leading with the Cubbies.
Blues win.
But Alex, tomorrow begins at 3 o'clock. Puck drop at 3, actually. We've got pregame with Alex Ferrario starting at 2. Blues versus the Calgary Flames. What are you expecting in the Blues as they hope to recover from the opening night loss?
Honestly, I don't know what I'm expecting because I was expecting them to come out with a bang in the season opener, and they did not. Jim Montgomery obviously is going to put an emphasis on this team being ready to go. I will say this. I think all of the concerns by people of their offense from game 1 will be gone in game 2 versus Calgary. This offense is too good to be a low-scoring team. Defensively, they might have some hiccups moving forward. I just think that's going to be normal for some of those younger guys like Logan Mailloux and Tyler Tucker that are playing a little bit more time. But I think they win this one. I think the offense is going to be fine, and we're not going to be talking about any of those issues.
Toropchenko listed as questionable going into tonight's game or tomorrow night's game with upper and lower body injuries. Joseph today skated with the 4th line. Bukestad Walker with him. On the 3rd line, it was Neighbors with Suter and Texier. On the college football side of things, T-Bone, your Illini are playing against Ohio State tomorrow at 11 a.m. It's the Big Fox game. Your level of anticipation for this one?
I'm super excited for it because, I don't think they're going to win, but I also didn't see them getting killed by Indiana. So I'm hoping that they pleasantly surprise me, and if they do, then it should be playoff or bust for Illinois because everything else on their schedule is take care of business, and you should get in. So I'm extremely excited for it. I don't like their chances of winning, but hey, weirdish happens on a college football Saturday.
I've got Ohio State minus the points.
I've got Ohio State minus the points.
I'm going to say Illinois covers.
All right. And in the Mizzou game against Alabama tomorrow, it's the big one this weekend. Mizzou
the big one.
Hosting Alabama, 2 top 15 teams. I've mentioned it a number of times. I can't say it enough.
Tribula.
First time that we have seen 2 top 15 AP-ranked teams in Columbia in 40 years. I think that the Missouri Tigers are going to get this one, Alex. I think Eli Drinkwitz is going to have his signature victory. I think he is going to find a way to overcome the Alabama Crimson Tide. Defensive line has a big game. I think that you'll see Ahmad Hardy have a big one as well. Alabama has not gone up against a running game like this yet this season. Mizzou gets the big one that will prove to Kerry Davis that they are legitimate.
Take that, Kerry.
That they have to acknowledge. Mizzou's every bit as good as the expectations.
ZOU, Kerry.
We're looking forward to this weekend. I know all the Mizzou talk is hot and heavy over there, but let's give the Illini some respect, please.
Don't worry, buddy. We just talked about the Illini. Alex and I both have Ohio State minus 14.5.
Speaking of hot and heavy, Kerry, we appreciate that you didn't pull a Jamie Rivers and pop up with Mr. Robe on.
I was putting my shirt on and I said, nah, I keep it clean.
We appreciate that. Not that we don't want to see it. It's just I don't know if everybody else is okay with it.
All right. Alex, did you say you?
Yeah,
like
Mizzou.
Alabama,
Yeah, I think Mizzou wins.
T-Bone?
I think Alabama wins. I think they're going to pick them apart in the secondary. You're going to see the Crimson Tide roll through Columbia.
And I mentioned briefly, I was joking, but we should talk about this real quick before we hand things over to the Fast Lane and Kerry Davis coming up here in just a moment. Cubs versus Brewers tomorrow night. It is a Game 5. The Cubs were able to force this one. Brewers have their backs against the wall. T-Bone, I'll get to you here in a minute. Alex, who do you think wins this one? We do not have an announced pitching matchup just yet.
I think it's going to be the Brewers. It's at home. Brewers, backs are against the wall, but their backs were against the wall, I guess, earlier in the season, and they went on a torrid pace. So they win this one, and it's over. Your Cubbies are crying all the way home.
Yeah, I'm going Milwaukee. I think they will take care of business while they're at home. I think you're going to see the offense come back to life. They'll take down the Cubs. I will say this. I do think the Mariners are going home tonight. I think
I'm with you there.
Scooble's going to shut them down, and we will see Detroit in the ALCS.
I think that the Cubs will find a way to get this thing done. And on Monday, we will be talking about the Milwaukee Brewers blowing their best chance that they've had recently to be able to get to a World Series. We'll certainly break it all down on Monday morning. For Alex Ferrario and Tanner Hendrickson, I'm Brandon Kiley. Shout out to Jordan Deacon for helping us back in the studio as well. Alex will have pregame coverage for Blues versus the Calgary Flames up in Calgary, Canada.
Calgary.
That'll take place tomorrow at 2 o'clock right here on 101 ESPN. Enjoy all of the sports this week, and there are plenty of them. We'll talk to you guys on Monday at 11 a.m. The Fast Lane's next here on 101 ESPN.